On Bettor Sports Network.
Handoff, Pollard coming left. Foot in the ground. First down and more. 50. Good block from the tight end. Sideline. Keep running. 10, 5. Touchdown. Tony Pollard. 3 for Pollard.
Hurts looks, fakes, still looking. He is going deep down the far side. And it is A.J. Brown again. Another touchdown.
Give it to Henry. 25-20. 15. Outside to the 10. Puts a move onto the 5, stiff arm, dives over the pylon. Touchdown, Titans! That was a man-sized run by the man, Derrick Henry.
Screen right side, Cooper Kupp to catch. Up to the 20 with a first down. But Cooper Kupp slow to get up. You can lose this game. You cannot lose Cooper Kupp.
McCaffrey behind the line, looking to throw it. Airs it out, has Ayuk wide open. He's got it for the touchdown. McCaffrey, the touchdown pass to Ayuk from 34.
Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
Do not adjust your set. Have you ever wanted to watch an ex-president break down fantasy football? Here's your chance. It's Barack Obama breaking down fantasy football with Ray Flowers on Lunch Money. Hey, Ray, how's it going?
I'm good, Mr. Obama. Thank you for President Obama. Thank you for joining us today. I'm interested to see. I know you handle all kinds of huge issues in the world, hunger, all those kind of things. I'm very interested to see how you break down the Denver-Jacksonville game that was played across the pond.
Yes. I'm very proud to be here. My time, I got a lot of time now, Ray. I don't do anything. I write books. I do Netflix specials. That's it. But I want to talk fantasy football with you today. Don't worry. I'm not going to wear that damn thing all day. You were kind of frightened, Ray, weren't you? You thought I was going to wear this thing all day.
Well, I was funny. I showed up for work dressed up. And you had nothing on. I was like, well, okay. And then you said, well, I'm going out later with the kid, for the trick or treating. And I was a little worried, but I'm glad that you had a little trick up your sleeve, as they say, Kyle.
Yeah, just a little trick. I forgot I had this thing. 2012. Still, it's a relic. In future years, Ray, this will be part of the treasure trove, probably. Speaking of treasure troves, that suit, my man, that is a treasure trove that you've got on today.
Yeah, and I told you the brief story quickly. Everyone will notice this and recognize this probably from Tom Hanks, Mr. Blumpkins and everything. Just so everyone knows, this was purchased multiple months before that bit on Saturday Night Live, SNL. So I'm not him. He was actually me.
Yeah. Okay. So you set the standard, and Tom Hanks has been still in your style. I get it. Hopefully everybody's getting ready for a fun Halloween. For those who don't know, Ray Flowers is kind of known the fantasy world over as Mr. Halloween. Ray, any big plans tonight? I kind of want to know what I'm dealing with. Are you even paying attention to this show, or do you have bigger and better things coming up this evening for the holiday?
I have some pumpkin beer ready to go. I have some other beers ready to go. I've got the holiday movie index on. I think tonight we're going Universal Classics. Probably going to watch a little Werewolf Meets Frankenstein. Probably going to watch a little Frankenstein, maybe some Dracula. So we're going old school, Lugosi, all that kind of stuff back in the 30s and 40s. But nothing grand. Give out some treat to the kids. Excuse me. So pretty low key here at this household. It sounds like you're going to be out and about more than I am, Kyle.
Yeah, I got a youngster, so he's into this. He's fired up. He's 3.5. So this is kind of the first year he really gets it, that he's gotten excited for, like reading books and all that, and get ready for Halloween. So we will be going out now. I'm not going to spill the beans on my outfit. Tomorrow I will have photos and we can post those. Today on the show, we will be reliving Halloween past for both Ray and I. Now, understand, everybody, Ray is much more indoctrinated into the Halloween world. Like, this is a big holiday for Ray. Me, not so much. Like, Ray, I don't care about this holiday. I only dress up because my kid and my wife make me. I can't be the dad who refuses to play the part with the rest of the family. I'm not going to be that jerk. Right. But if I didn't have that, Ray, it will have been like over 2 decades since I last dressed up. I'm just not but you, every year you've got stuff. You've got a pile of Halloween outfits and paraphernalia, right?
I do, yeah, and we talked about this, I think, maybe a week ago or so, and it's something that longtime listeners of our show know. We used to do shows during the trick-or-treating time, so I would have to take Halloween off because the house would be decorated, the doorbell would be going, and all that kind of stuff. So I used to not have to work.
Lawn, your front lawn, Ray, was
Yeah.
like known. The entire neighborhood knew Mr. Flowers goes all out on Halloween. You don't get to do that anymore.
I don't do that as much, no, and we have very little foot traffic compared to what we used to have because we're kind of up at the top of the hill now. I don't know if Heather Klein remembers this or not. I probably should have asked her before the show, but she actually helped me put me in touch with someone at Sirius that actually I recorded some audio, and then she passed it on to this producer who then created Halloween audio. So my voice mixed, I sound like goblins and ghosts, and I got a whole thing talking about the other address where, so it says, "Welcome to the Grand Boulevard," and the whole thing. So I used to have that. I used to have the lights, the smoke, the fog, the big items, the whole thing. So now we're just kind of low key here, don't get to go out as much as I used to. Used to do the pub crawl. We've talked about that, where I'd go out and hit the 6-7 spots in the local area and stumble home drunk at 2 a.m. Don't get to have fun like that anymore, Kyle.
Yeah, you're an adult now. You got to be responsible. You stay inside. You watch old Dracula movies. That's how Ray does it now. Now throughout the show, we're going to be sprinkling in some old images of both Ray and I. Mine are not quite so old. Some of Ray's are epically old. Halloween costumes and get-ups. I think Heather Klein, who you mentioned, she's pulled a few of these. Let's check out the first one. Now Ray sent a variety, so we don't know really what Heather is going to throw our way. Wow, is that's a pretty awful Batman, Ray? When did Batman wear tan? I mean, even the George Clooney Batman never wore a tan outfit.
Well, as you can see, I was 3 years old there. There's my brother Jeff in the background laying on the bed when he's a year old. That's not, how do you tan? That's the cape. Are you talking about?
Your whole outfit looks tan.
No, it's blue. No, it's just blue.
blue.
It's blue and red. It's not very appropriate. I mean, back in the day, the comic books weren't always color accurate. I don't know why. My mom bought it. I was 3 years old. But yeah, you can tell the mask is a little bit big. But that's me at 3, starting my superhero love when I was a wee little fella.
I like it. Is that the first one? Am I color? Like, people are saying I'm colorblind. Like,
yeah, that's blue and red.
I guess I see the red belt, but the pants look kind of grayish, tannish.
Nah, blue.
No, maybe I'm colorblind.
Maybe blue.
Okay, this shirt's green, right?
Yeah, that's
what
green.
I'm wearing.
Yeah,
okay, I just wanted to
white.
make sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's way back. Is that the oldest one we've got today?
I believe that is, yes.
Okay. Yeah, well, they just get bigger and better from there. Hopefully, I'll figure out what color these things are as we go deeper.
What color is this, Kyle? You got the pumpkins, right?
Yeah, that's black and orange.
Okay.
You look like the Cleveland Browns there, Ray. Right?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Man, everything matches in your house. I'm just noticing this. You got orange pumpkins. You got your Giants uniform in the back. There's a lot of orange and black, Ray. That's kind of like that's going to be your calling card from now on. Orange and black Ray Flowers.
Yeah, normally I zoom in a little bit more here, so we're more similar in size. Sorry, producers, but today I wanted everyone to experience the pumpkins on me as well as behind me. I don't always get this wrong. Behind me. So yeah, the Giants, and then they're black and orange. The orange looks much better on the Giants than it does on the Chicago Bears, as an example.
Looks good on you, though. I like the look on you.
Thank you.
So we'll have some Halloween fun. I'm not going to wear this mask anymore, so don't tell your friends and family to tune. That was a once in a generation kind of move. What we are going to do today, in addition to all the Halloween festivities, is talk a lot of football. We love Mondays right here on Lunch Monday, because on Mondays we do nothing but talk for like the first 90 minutes. All we talk about is what went down on Sunday. What matters to you, the fantasy player? And I will say, Ray, yesterday was a bit of a turn back the clock kind of Sunday. We had, I don't want to say they were, let's call them quiet stars that got really loud yesterday. They kind of been quiet this year, but they blew up yesterday. So that was good. We also turned back the clock by the simple fact that the Jets and the Jags and the Lions, they all lost. They still suck. Like that's turned back the clock. The other thing that was different about yesterday, Ray, is we actually got scoring. Like the early game window, Ray, was obnoxious with scoring. I don't know, Ray, if we've had a Sunday as good as what we had yesterday in terms of scoring. You and I talked about it on Friday. I think the average this year is about 43 points.
Mhm.
Even including some bad games in the late window, low scoring games, we averaged about 47 points per game yesterday. That's really good. We're going to take that, Ray, and call it a victory. It was a true turn back the clock to 2017 kind of Sunday.
You know me, I still found a bunch of crappy offense around. I know. But to your point, there were some good games. There was some back and forth. We had Carolina and Atlanta and a grudge match going back and forth, points back and forth. We did have some points. We had some solid offense. We still, again, had the lows, which is what I always want to focus on. But to your point, it was better than it has been, and that's moving things in the right direction.
You know, it's funny you mentioned Carolina, Atlanta. Like, Ray, I'm supposed to say I was excited by that game. It was fun. It was action-packed. Ray, it was the most boring good game ever. I don't know. It's just like those two teams just do zilch for me.
Yeah.
There were good performances and memorable moments, but it's like, gosh, is that really the best game, like true game on Sunday? It might have been. We will break all of them down, giving you our takes for each and every game. So let's dig into it. And Ray, let's start with that game, Carolina, Atlanta. They went to OT. Final score in this one, 37-34. I don't know that either team really deserved to win. And lo and behold, Atlanta's now on top of the NFC South. Like, huh? What is going on here? Your fantasy takeaway from the Panthers and kind of their cough up against the Falcons.
Yep. By the way, the only team that has scored at least 2 touchdowns in all 8 games this season, the Atlanta Falcons.
Really?
Mike Clay just tweeted that out. That's the Eagles, Bills, and Chiefs have played 7 games, but they're the Falcons are the only team. My goodness. My takeaway is, and this is, again, I think it's something we try to be proactive at fantasyguru.com. We try to be proactive here on the show at BSN. You can use the code BETTOR, BETTOR, for a discount on all our products over at fantasyguru.com. We try to be proactive. And so we try to get ahead of things versus reacting to things where you got to run to the waiver wire and everyone in your league is interested. And Terrace Marshall's a guy that we've talked about. Jeff Manns has been talking about him since the preseason. I added him myself in a couple of leagues 10 days ago when the Robbie Anderson situation occurred. And while we saw, Terrace Marshall catch only 4 passes yesterday, let's pull back for a second. He saw 9 targets, which is huge. Now, I don't know how many times that Carolina is going to throw it 36 passes. Like, that's not really what they want to do. But Marshall saw 9 targets. He played over 90% of the snaps. He caught 4 passes for 87 yards. He had a strong game. He looked the part. And Kyle, he's it. He's legit. He's their wide receiver 2 moving forward. What does that amount to in the fantasy game? Is it frequently better than 9 non-PPR points, 12 PPR points? I don't know, because I don't think this is an offense that we can look at and feel great about passing. It's very likely Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold take snaps and throw passes. But Terrace Marshall impressed me yesterday. He stepped forward yesterday. The workload was there, and the performance was too.
Yeah, it's a fill-in for me, Ray. It's like a wide receiver 4 or 5. There's just not enough volume there in that offense. And they are one of the weaker offenses. I wouldn't be misled by the 34 points yesterday. That might go down as their top game all season long for points. I get it with Marshall. Like, sure, throw a few bucks here. And last week we spent all that time talking about Wan'Dale Robinson. I wonder if we'll get as many questions about him this week. Hint, not going to. But, Ray, Terrence Marshall's kind of in that same boat for me. Now, if I were stacking the 2 up, Marshall versus Robinson, I'd totally want Terrence Marshall. But I just don't think we'll ever get to the point where he's like a top 36 receiver, a wide receiver 3 this season. He still has DJ Moore. Like, that's still the game in town, despite the brain fart yesterday. But Marshall's available everywhere. Mm-hmm. I mean, Ray, what's he own? Like 3% of leagues right now. It's really, really, really low. I just don't know if there's much more helium in that balloon. Like, yesterday was good, but it's like that's maybe as good as it can get for him.
Right, but if he does that again in week 9, he's starting. Let's not forget Cleveland, Dallas, Denver, New York Giants, Pittsburgh, the Niners. 6 teams are on bye. We got another 6 teams on bye in week 14. There are a couple of weeks that, I had to use them last week because I had Jamar Chase went down and that kind of a thing. And luckily DK Metcalf suited up. But there were still leagues where I had to play Marshall yesterday, and there might be leagues where he's available and starting as well in week 9.
Well, the next two names I'm going to mention, they might be available, and they're on the Panthers. Watching that game yesterday, Ray, I scratched my head and said, I wonder if the Panthers will just roll with Donta Foreman and PJ Walker. Just roll with them. Let's see what we got. And Ray, at quarterback especially, they're going to go back to Mayfield or Darnold. They are. And I don't know if that's the right choice. Like, haven't we seen enough of Darnold and Mayfield to say it ain't going to happen? And I'm not saying it will happen with Walker. But, Ray, I haven't seen enough for Walker to say it won't happen. And yesterday was nothing like great or superstardom, but it was as good as anything Mayfield and Darnold can ever do. Like, PJ Walker is not a great quarterback, but the two guys behind him aren't great quarterbacks. And I fear, Ray, Carolina will no doubt give those guys the gig, and they'll get the usual Baker Mayfield, the usual Sam Darnold. It'll be loss after loss after loss. Meanwhile, they'll have PJ Walker sitting on the bench, and we'll all kind of wonder, wonder if that could have been something. Wonder if they should stick with him, and Ray, they should stick with Foreman. Like, ride this train. Chuba Hubbard's probably going to be back next week, I would guess. You know, the injury is probably a 1 week thing. I really hope, Ray, the Panthers realize what they got here and say, you know what? These guys are performing. These guys are excelling. Let's give them some run. You know, we're trying to find answers as an organization. When we get a guy like Foreman, what do you go, 120 yards and 3 touchdowns? When you get somebody like Walker, who's making big throws, big plays, let him have some leash. Send them out there. Don't make them fight again for the job. So that's my takeaway there. I hope Carolina, Ray, who's in a total rebuild, they just let these guys play. Don't screw with it. You know, no knock on Hubbard, no knock on Mayfield. But these two guys, Ray, are performing. They shouldn't have to now give reps back to Baker Mayfield or give reps back to Chuba Hubbard. These guys should be someone who they play him like he did, you know, this week, play him like he did yesterday. Just let them go out there and let them be what they can be. And I think Carolina's better served if they go that route.
Mayfield's not the long-term answer for the Panthers. Darnold's not the long-term answer for the Panthers. Walker's not the long-term answer for the Panthers. None of them. So to your point, you know, I mean, PJ Walker is the only guy that they might keep around and that they don't have to pay, you know, $12 million to take a chance.
Exactly.
You know, so, you know, I mean, again, none of them are the answer. You know, DJ Moore taking my helmet off penalty that cost them the game in essence. Dropped them to 2-6. They would have been in first place with the win here, right? So their season outlook would have been much different. They're now 2-6. They're not going anywhere. I don't mind the idea of letting Walker go. I don't. Again, he's not the answer, and he's not a good fantasy play. The Foreman one's the more intriguing fantasy option because, you know, obviously yesterday's as good as it's going to get. He's not going to have another 3-touchdown game. I'd be shocked if he ran for 118 yards another game. But you know, he hits piles and moves them. He's a tough guy to bring down. And Chuba Hubbard is a player that's going to get work. This team can't consistently win with Donta Foreman touching it 26 times on the ground. They can't. They're going to need Hubbard.
But Ray, can they compete better with just Foreman instead of like splitting this stuff between Hubbard and him? Like what? Just roll Foreman. Like, I don't know why a losing team, like they get this performance and now they want to screw with it. It's like, just roll with it and let the guy be the guy.
Well, yeah, but I mean, really, it's 3 yards, 4 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards, 3 yards. There's no big play potential with Foreman. He can't get around the edge. He's not fast. He's not a guy that hits big. He's a chain mover, which is fine. And you need it. I think we saw it yesterday. He got in the end zone 3 times too. It was great. But Chuba Hubbard's more able to help in the passing game, which is something they need. He's a little more dynamic in terms of his running ability. So, you know, and you know, this team's there's very few running backs that touch the ball 20 times a week. It's just, it's a rare breed anymore.
Foreman had 26 touches yesterday. Ray, he is not built for that workload at all. I mean, you just look at his career. The guy never gets a whole lot of work. When he does, he gets hurt. Now, again, have we seen enough of Foreman to say he can't be that guy? Maybe that's unfair, but that's a key component here too, Ray. 26 carries. Like, how many weeks with the way Carolina plays, with the probable likelihood that they're going to be getting beat by 10, 14 points a lot. There's just not 26 carries every week for Foreman. Honestly, even if he like became the lead back, you're hoping for 14, 15 carries a week.
Right. And he can get 14, 50 carries. Hubbard can get 8 and catch 4 passes. Like, right. That's probably the kind of thing they want to do. And I love the broadcast too. There were all these comparisons, Foreman to Derrick Henry. Like, seriously? Like, I love it when a young guy comes up and they compare him to Barry Sanders. It's like, seriously? Like,
well, and what they were saying, Ray, is they're like, oh, the Panthers coaching staff was making that comparison. Okay, if that's true, and I have to believe they were, oh, Derrick Henry this. I mean, no analyst would just come out and say that if it were a lie.
Right.
But if that's true, Ray, then prove it. Just let him be the guy.
Well,
and I bet they won't. And that's infuriating to me that Foreman goes out and did what he did yesterday, and now they're going to come back in and they're going to screw around with this and play Chuba Hubbard.
Well, if this team had Derrick Henry, why didn't they trade Christian McCaffrey a year ago? They don't have Derrick Henry. Stop the nonsense. It's just idiotic to say that. Just dumb.
Reminds them of Derrick Henry.
Uh-huh. I remind people of Joe Buck. I remind people of, I'm not. So let's, come on.
That was a close one, 37. I guess if we were to find another game that was really close to the very end, well, we're probably going to Indianapolis and Washington. Again, I get it. Close game, fun game, exciting at the end. But, man, it's the Commanders and the Colts. Final score 17-16. Washington wins it. Heineke with a late touchdown run to secure the victory on the road. He is now 2-0, by the way, as a starter. Ray, what's your takeaway from the Commanders' late victory?
Yeah, my takeaway is that, Terry McLaurin is now back to being the truth. He is back to being an every week starter. Tyler Heineke runs around. He doesn't know what's going on. He's chucking it to Terry McLaurin. That long pass at the end of the game, he just threw it up. It was a total jump ball. McLaurin went up, made a great play, caught the ball, yelling at everyone, this is my house, and all this kind of stuff. McLaurin's back, and we all wondered what was going on. Like, what is the fascination with Dotson and Brown and everyone else in this offense besides Terry McLaurin? All they needed was to put Taylor Heineke back in there, who's going to, play kind of Ryan Fitzpatrick-like football, if you will, who will scramble around, who will chuck it around. Terry McLaurin is the guy he trusts. He's the guy he looks for. And, I say this all the time. If I'm a quarterback and I'm trying to make it, I'm getting the ball to the guy that can help me the most. And with the Commanders, the guy that can help you the most in the passing game is Terry McLaurin. We all knew that. The first quarter of the season this year, they forgot that. With Heineke back under center, they remember Terry McLaurin is now a legit top 20 receiver every week. Book it.
Ray, look at the last 17 starts for Tyler Heineke. The dude is 9-8. I was just talking about Carolina. Don't screw with it. You got a good effort yesterday from Walker and Foreman Uzis. Ray, if I'm Washington, I'm not giving this job back to Carson Wentz. Are you? Like, this team's better with Tyler Heineke. Wentz ain't sticking around next year. His contract is silly. The trade was silly. Everybody kind of scratched their head when they made this move. And I realize that if they don't give Wentz the job back when he's healthy, they've admitted that they made a giant mistake with that trade. They give up 3 picks for Carson Wentz, paying the dude like $28 million or something silly. So Ray, they're going to have to like survive the egg on their face if they make that choice. But honestly, Heineke should be the guy. Like, Carson Wentz should not come back and have this job waiting for him when he's healthy.
Well, the only issue with that, and I'm not saying it would be the wrong thing to do to leave it in Heineke's hands, is that if they do that, Carson Wentz is not coming back next year. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they don't want him back. But he's not going to re-sign with the Commanders if he's benched and doesn't play.
He wouldn't anyway. I mean, maybe if they went 11-6, but that ain't happening.
Right. So, I mean, the problem the Commanders run into here is as Heineke is a 9-8 quarterback. He's not a championship level quarterback. He's not. He won't be. It's not going to happen. He's just not. If their goal is to play 500 ball, okay, he's your guy. The team likes him. He's rah. He's on the sidelines. He's waving at the fans, telling them to get louder. Like he's wearing his headband. He's doing his. He's a great guy to have around. In long term, he's a backup. He's not a top end quarterback. He never will be. But the team is 4-4. They are rallying around him at this point. He's not playing any worse than Carson Wentz was. You could say that definitively. So I understand your point.
You said McLaurin is back. Ray, Jonathan Taylor still ain't back. That's my takeaway here. And I realize there's been injuries by weeks, but think about this. We're 8 weeks into the season. Ray, we've had 2 good or better games for Jonathan Taylor. He's 2 for 8. He doesn't look right. The blocking's atrocious. I hate to admit defeat, Ray, but I might have to on Jonathan Taylor. It ain't going to happen this year. And part of that may be injuries and the ankle now that is flaring up. But it's been a disaster, really, for Jonathan Taylor. It's kind of weird to look at his game by game. And Ray, if you take away that first game, which was the 31 carries and 160 yards, now, that was a good game. That was awesome in week 1. Since that point, Ray, I was looking at just ranking it from week 2 to now, and he's barely an RB3. Like, think about that. If you take away that one game, and I realize, hey, you can't just take away that. But for a vast majority of the season, Ray, we're looking at a running back who ranks like 35th in PPR scoring. It's really mind-blowing to see the fall off he's had. And yeah, there have been injuries, and that's usually how this stuff happens. But even when he's out there, Ray, there's just nothing there. And like, how upsetting was it yesterday that they get inside, what were they, 5-6 yards out, and they're handing it off to Nyheim Hines? And Jonathan Taylor's actually the lead blocker on the play. So I get it. Hey, we want to keep people guessing, and everybody thinks Jonathan Taylor is going to get the football. Let's give it to Nyheim Hines. Okay, cool, innovative. But Ray, it was another stab in the back of a Taylor owner that you just can't get into the end zone with this guy. We can't get yardage from this guy. And even Nyheim Hines is running it in before Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, maybe Matt Ryan wasn't the problem. I mean, Taylor, during the game yesterday, they had him on the sidelines. They were retaping his ankle. He's not right. He's not. And he's not right. The offensive line is struggling. I think they're struggling with play calling. They're struggling with quarterback play. This offense, this team is a mess. They're an absolute mess. They're 3-4-1. This team should have been 6-2 right now. They're 3-4-1. It's a mess. And, they changed the quarterback. Nothing happened. Offense didn't get any better. In fact, it was worse. So, and a part of this is Taylor, but they have not been able to establish Taylor, other than the one game where, Deion Jackson went nuts because he caught all the passes and everything. They haven't really established the running game. Hines has been hurt. Taylor's been hurt. When you lose your 1 and 2 with injury, it's tough. But they have not been able to establish anything on the ground. And, Taylor at this point is kind of a sunk cost. We have the same thing going with Najee Harris, but Najee Harris wasn't the first pick. So, this is a tough one in fantasy. You got to keep starting Taylor. He still had 16 carries yesterday. I mean, I don't know how you would have 2 or 3 better running backs than him. But when the ceiling is now, 80 yards and a touchdown versus 100 yards and 2 touchdowns and 4 catches like it was last season, it's depressing.
And you mentioned the record, 3-4-1. Now, in a division like the AFC South, they still have a fighter's chance. They can still rack up some wins against some pretty lousy competition. But I'm looking at their schedule, Ray. The next 2 weeks are on the road at New England, at Las Vegas. Those could very easily be losses. Mm-hmm. And now you're looking at 3-6-1. After that, they got Philadelphia. Philadelphia hasn't lost to anybody yet this year. I mean, you could be 3-7-1. I bring all this up, Ray. I wouldn't be surprised if we get to week 15, 16, 17, 18, the season's done, we're not going to make it, and Jonathan Taylor just throws in the towel.
Could happen.
And honestly, if he were, like Ray said, he's probably not right at this exact moment. He'll tough it out. Team still has a chance, but don't be surprised if you get to December and we don't see much of Jonathan Taylor at all. And that will make it truly a disaster of a season, right? This is silly to think, but right now, Ray, through 8 weeks, he's got 462 yards and 1 touchdown. Last season, he finished with 1,811 yards and 18 touchdowns. I wouldn't predict this, Ray, but we could see his rushing yardage fall in half from 1,800 to 900, and we could see that touchdown number go from 18 to 5 or 4. That would be a crazy fall for a guy that almost all of us, I think all of us did, Ray, had either 1 or 2 on our fantasy football boards coming into the year.
Yeah, and it's just a reminder, and it is something that you and I have consistently said for over a decade now. When you have the ability to choose a draft pick, there's all this preseason talk about what pick do I choose, and it's on and on. And you and I both have said, just give me a pick and I'll draft my team. And people are fixated. Oh, do I take pick 7 or pick 2 or pick 12 or pick 1? Doesn't really matter. And, everyone would have had Taylor 1 or 2. I think everyone had Taylor 1 or 2. Maybe some crazy people had him 4, right? But everyone had him in their top 5. It just hasn't worked out.
Let's move away from that victory by Washington. Talk about another slugfest between the Titans and the Texans. Final score here, 17-10. Tennessee with the road win. Congrats to them. They did it with Malik Willis under center, which was an impressive thing to watch nonetheless. And Ray, they were able to do it because of Derrick Henry. And I will come at you today, Halloween 2022, and say thus far, Ray, Derrick Henry is shoving it in my face. Derrick Henry's making me look stupid, Ray. Derrick Henry looks like Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is killing it. Derrick Henry is getting a ton of work. Derrick Henry's getting in the end zone, a ton of yardage. Derrick Henry looks like prime Derrick Henry. I didn't think we'd see that this year, Ray. I thought maybe a game or two here, but we are now on a run of like 4 straight weeks, Ray, where he's Derrick Henry. I mean, this looks like prime age Derrick Henry, and I didn't think that was happening this year. I didn't like him in the first round this year. Yes, there's still half the season, but honestly, Ray, it's already better than I would have guessed with Derrick Henry. Like, it's really good, and he's not super effective here. I mean, we're not seeing crazy alls. Like, the beginning of last season was crazy good.
Right.
And the guy was getting 27 carries a week. They've scaled him back to 22, 23 is kind of where he's at. But yesterday was another example, another check mark in the box, Ray. Doubters like me, we look like fools thus far on Derrick Henry this season.
You know who looks like fools? The Houston Texans. They are the worst organization in football history. I'm just
whoa.
Come on. They have allowed
Whoa.
4 games. 1, 2, 3, 4 games to Derrick Henry, not just of 2 rushing touchdowns, but 2 rushing touchdowns and 200 rushing yards. It's happened 4 times. 4, 202. Like, was I wrong about Derrick Henry to this point in time? I agree with you. Yeah, I said I wouldn't take him in the first round. I said I think he's a running back 1. I wouldn't take him in the first round. Obviously, taking Henry over Taylor to the midpoint of the season here, huge miss. If you're going to say that again, I said he was a running back 1, but I didn't anticipate him being this good. But this also was let's not forget that after the first couple of weeks, people were nervous about Derrick Henry. Yeah. And you and I sat here on BSN and said, look, the offense only works if it goes through Derrick Henry. So if you've got Derrick Henry, keep the faith. If you can get Derrick Henry on the cheap, do it. He's going to get 20 touches a week. It's going to happen. And the train that is Derrick Henry continues to roll on, Kyle.
Now, I will say, Ray, look at these carry totals. This is the worry. It's gone 21 and 13. Those were the first 2 weeks. Then 20, 22, 28, 30, 32. Ray, you're 100% right. The only way they win and compete is Derrick Henry. But he can't survive that pace. Can he? I mean, last year his body broke down, and they kind of slowly got him into the groove this year. Because, again, the first 2 games, 34 carries. The first 3 games, 54 carries. That's a low number for Derrick Henry. So, Ray, they kind of gradually got him into the season and got him rolling. They have pushed him to the extreme like the last 3 and 4 weeks. So I wonder, because they probably are going to need this the rest of the way, Ray. Can he maintain 25 to 30 carries a week and make it to the finish line? That would be a big question I have with Henry. Now, I was wrong in the preseason, and I may be wrong again, Ray.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd love to see if I could get a stud running back and another piece for Derrick Henry in a trade right now. That'd be something to take a look at.
Well, the interesting thing is that yesterday was the first time in 4 games where he didn't catch at least 2 passes. So the last 3 games, it's actually 30, 33, and 33 touches, because let's not forget the passing work. No human alive has ever handled 500 touches in a season. And it's the same thing they were doing with them last year. And, more power to them, because, again, it's the only way they can win games. It's the only way. But it strains every bit of reason to think that he's going to be able to handle 30 touches a week and make it to the finish line. That's never happened in history, and it would be so far and above what anyone has ever done at this stage of his career. I can't see it happening.
I know you were criticizing the Texans defense. Now, Ray, you got to understand, it's not like you can flood the box against Derrick Henry when you have the threat that is Malik Willis. Come on, man. Let's back off a little bit. Malik Willis was a firecracker yesterday for the Titans, right?
Yeah. The Houston Texans defensive effort yesterday and they only gave up 17 points, right? But it was one of the worst defensive efforts in football history, not NFL history, football history, CFL, high school, college football history. Okay.
I must have missed something in this game. I saw a lot of it on Red Zone, but I never said, oh my God, I've never seen such a bad defense, even going to Pee Wee football. But you're telling me it was the worst of all time.
Maybe not Pee Wee football. I left that out. But anything over 14.
Okay.
Yes, it was the worst effort ever. And here's why. The Titans only win with Derrick Henry. We all know that coming in. You have to stop Derrick Henry to beat the Titans. We know that. The Titans passing game yesterday was the worst game of passing that wasn't impacted by a snowstorm or 45-degree weather or 112 inches of rain in the day. The worst passing effort the NFL has seen in 75 years. Malik Willis is absolutely unprepared to be an NFL quarterback right now. Period. They know it. He knows it. Look at his eyes. He knows it. He's not ready. Not to say that he can't be a fantasy star. He is not ready right now. Their quarterback produced 67 yards of offense. That's it. And the Texans could not stop Derrick Henry. They should have put 11 men on the line of scrimmage. Malik Willis could not. He was incapable of beating them through the air. And that 67 yards of offense, Derrick Henry, 5 yards, 6 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards, 8 yards, 8 yards, 8 yards, 32 carries, 219 yards. And don't forget, Dontrell Hilliard had 8 carries for 83 yards. They had 67 yards of offense from their quarterback. And the Texans allowed over 300 rushing yards to the Titans yesterday. Absolutely abysmal. You know exactly what they're doing on every single play, yet you can't stop it. Pathetic. Pathetic.
Man, I'm gonna have to start loading up on running backs against the Texans. Worst thing ever.
Clearly.
It may be a Henry thing. It may be a Derrick Henry thing, right?
Dontrell Hilliard, 8 carries, 83 yards. It didn't matter. Whoever carried the ball, 8 yards a carry. They ran over Kyle. 300 plus rushing yards. What opponent?
Okay, how did the Titans only score 17 points?
Yeah, because it was 7 yards. Because they could never do anything down the field. They had to march down the field on a 13-play drive because they can't throw the ball. But if you're facing the Texans, why would you pass? Why would you ever pass? You don't need to pass. You don't. Yeah. This team was absolutely pathetic yesterday.
Absolutely pathetic. Let's see. Up next, Ray, Philadelphia. That's a team that can run. The Giants, that's a team that can run. And then you get the Commanders, the Dolphins, the Browns. Yeah, I don't know if the running defense is going to get much better against the likes there. It could be a rough month plus for the Texans. Regardless, another loss for them. I caught a highlight I think it was when Pierce got into the end zone, Ray. Mm-hmm. And literally, I think there were about 17 fans in the stands. Like everybody got the heck out of it.
How demoralizing is it? You're the fan. Stop the run, and they can't stop. Go home. Get better things to do with your life.
Speaking of fans, let's go to LA, where it may have been 50-50 between fans from LA and fans from San Francisco. The fans from San Francisco left with a smile on their face. Kind of a dominating victory for San Francisco. I mean, very ho-hum here, 31-14. My takeaway, Ray, and everybody's talking about McCaffrey. Bravo. Great job. But my takeaway, Ray, is bravo to the coaching staff for using him, for saying, you know what, we've got this weapon, let's use it. We see a lot of teams, Ray, that want to get too smart, get too cute, want to slowly work in a guy. I said this when the Niners made the trade, and you said something very similar. You said, this is a team that knows how to make use of Christian McCaffrey. I am so happy that immediately they're doing that. They're not screwing around and kind of they're saying, hey, we got McCaffrey. Let's let this guy do stuff. We've got this difference maker who's actually healthy now. Let's let him do things. I was so happy, Ray, to just see him everywhere. And what Christian McCaffrey showed yesterday is Christian McCaffrey at his absolute peak. And that's never been in doubt. He's really good when he's on the field. He's really good in this 49ers offense. Now we just got to keep him on the field. Who knows if it happens? Maybe it does. But Ray, that team went out. They said, hell yeah, we'll take this guy for $1 million the rest of the year, and we'll use him. Congratulations. So many teams fail in this regard. They don't use their players in the right spot, or they try to pass when they should run. They try these tight end flea flickers, from the 3-yard line. Something didn't have that with the Niners. They were creative, but they made sure that creativity ran through Christian McCaffrey. So it's only been 2 games. Last week was a little tough because he just showed up 2 days before. But Ray, his first full game, bravo to the coaching staff for making absolute use of McCaffrey.
18 carries, 8 receptions, a touchdown in both areas. The touchdown as a passer too, 34-yard touchdown pass. It was a spectacular game. I was surprised by the volume. Not that they utilized them all over the field, like you said, but the volume. I mean, 26 touches. I'm surprised at that. We only saw 4 carries from Jeff Wilson. So I wonder when Elijah Mitchell gets back, is the 4 carries 10 for Mitchell? Do they worry about McCaffrey a little bit, or do they just say, look, we got to go? Let's not forget they didn't have Deebo Samuel yesterday, so that probably helped McCaffrey a little bit. But maybe it's 18 to 20 touches. That kind of be where I would be expecting things with McCaffrey versus the plus 20 plus that we saw yesterday. But it was great to see, and they used him in a dominating effort against a reeling Rams team.
Well, and I would suggest, Ray, there was at least part of the game plan there that said, let's shove it in the Rams' face. Because honestly, the Niners probably beat out the Rams for McCaffrey.
True.
It was probably down to those 2 teams. And I would just bet that every time McCaffrey had another nice play yesterday, Shanahan was probably looking across that sideline and giving a sneer to Sean McVay. And McVay was probably looking up into the GM's office saying, come on, we couldn't give up an extra pick. Couldn't give up a 5th or 6th round pick to get Christian McCaffrey. Man, it hurt yesterday. On your side, Ray, what's your takeaway from the Rams' loss to the Niners?
Yeah, the Rams straight up are broken. Like straight up. McVay is like 101 coming back from a bye week or whatever the record was. They were unprepared yesterday and they got rolled. They got stomped out by the Niners. Stomped out. And they stomped them out earlier this season too. The Niners have got the Rams number this year, period. And everyone seems to have the Rams number. The Rams' offensive line is not good. Their passing attack is completely ineffective, and they have no idea how to run the football. None. They've tried Akers, didn't work. They've tried Henderson, doesn't work. They tried Rivers yesterday, hasn't worked. They tried Brown, hasn't worked. I don't know if Kyron Williams comes back and is the answer in the fantasy respect, because there's no answer here for the Rams because their run blocking and their offense is broken. But I don't know if Kyron Williams becomes a guy that we can utilize or if they're going to make a trade here. But even if they do make a trade, or even if Kyron Williams comes back, what are we getting? Running back 22? Like, it would have to be a volume thing because the Rams at no point in that game yesterday, and at no point really this season, have ever established much of anything on offense, let alone a rushing attack. It's an abysmal failure by that coaching staff. I'll put on the players too, but by that coaching staff. You had a bye week, and that's the effort you came out with yesterday? Unacceptable.
Well, I think early on they were competitive, but by about the midpoint of the second quarter, the Niners were just pushing them around and having all sorts of success, and the offense just went to sleep. They came out pretty good, I thought, but they couldn't sustain that. Yeah, they couldn't sustain that. And it's really alarming to see how far they've fallen. And, everybody can point to injuries, but everybody in the NFL has that. I do know this. Kupp's still there. Stafford's still there. Robinson's there. Higbee's there. Aaron Donald is there. Jalen Ramsey is there. Like, a lot of guys are still on the field. Let's not get this confused. They are just not performing. It's been a really severe Super Bowl hangover. Now, you mentioned the backfield, Ray. Tomorrow is the trading deadline, by the way. McCaffrey was the big catch, and that was even kind of surprising to see him traded. About the only guy in the backfield, Ray, that you hear about, you say, okay, that makes sense, and yeah, that probably is an improvement, would be a guy like Kareem Hunt. Like, there's really nothing else out there, but man, if Kareem Hunt goes to LA, would you get all pumped and excited for Kareem Hunt? Do you think that would be a change where they say, he's our guy, he's going to get 15 to 20 touches a week?
I think given the way the backfield has progressed this season, they'd be very inclined to do that. It might be, 14 carries for 59 yards and 4 catches for 28 yards. Again, this offense is broken. I mean, straight broken. So it would be better, and it would at least give us a face that we could lean on versus now, like, I had to unfortunately recommend Henderson to a couple people yesterday. We had him running back 32 or whatever the hell it was. Like, can you have a running back in the top 30 from this team right now? And the answer is no, you can't. You can't. Even with buys and everything. Like, if you had to lean to the Rams, or might say, is Darrell Henderson, Rivers, Brown, am I firing these guys up this week? Hell no. Like, just no. So Hunt, we do this a lot because we play video games with this, right? We play fantasy with it. Hunt goes to the Rams. It improves the Rams. Doesn't fix the Rams. It doesn't mean they're going to be successful running the football.
Yeah, and everybody keeps talking about Odell Beckham. He's not going to show up in December on a team that's under 500.
Why would he? Yeah, no chance.
I know he wants to be with the Rams, but that may be changing by the loss as they are racking them up. Let's stay in the NFC West. Despite the 49er victory, they're still not in first in that division. First place, Seattle. Yes, the Seahawks, another win, somehow knocking off the Giants. 27-13 was the final there. Ray, your fantasy takeaway from another Seahawk victory.
Yeah, I mean, this, I talked earlier about, the Texans' horrid defense. The Giants' offense is atrocious. Like, it's painful to watch. And you've said many times on this show here, it's all Saquon Barkley or bust. And it was Barkley again yesterday. I mean, he had 23 touches yesterday. He had 61 yards of offense, 60 yards of offense. Mm-hmm. He did jack nothing yesterday. And the reason is because that's all there is. That's it.
If he's not going, they're cooked.
They're done. And they're one of the worst 6-2 teams ever. Like, because they're all, it's been good coaching. It's been close games. It's been solid defense, but their offense sucks. It's so bad. And, they had 13 points and under 180 passing yards against Seattle, who's given up more than 30 points in 3 of 4 games, who's been stopped defensively by virtually every opponent the last month. The Giants had 13 points. They were, and it wasn't even as close as the 27-13 score. They were out of this game for the majority of it. And when you talk, it's Seattle. Okay. It's tough to play in Seattle. Okay. Seattle's defense is not good. It is. And we have seen it against all these opponents. And the Giants did absolutely nothing there. A terrible offense. And, other than Barkley, I mean, I had to play Jones this week because of buys and other people in that same area. And, if Jones runs for 75 yards, cool. But if he doesn't, he's just another one of these guys at the quarterback position. It's all about his legs. You look at the receiving core. I mean, Darius Slayton gives you 10 points a week, and then what? So it's really Saquon Barkley or nothing in this offense. It's terrible.
Yeah, the alarming thing for me yesterday with that Giants offense, Ray, was Jones. Like, by this point in his career, he shouldn't struggle like he did yesterday. That was bad. And I get it. They don't have superstars at wide receiver. But this is that moment where you've got to make the plays and make the throws, and he didn't. And he's gotten a lot of credit this year, but like you noted, and like we brought up last week, it's all with his legs. Like, a majority, over 50% of his fantasy production is him running the football this year. That's where Daniel Jones is succeeding. It's not throwing the football. And so, Ray, they can't live this way. I mean, they get 6-2. It is entirely misleading. Now, I tend to think people overreact like crazy when a game like yesterday happens. The schedule still sets up okay for the Giants. Now, they're going to have some tough challenges. Like, they still haven't played the Eagles yet. So they still got to play the Eagles. They got to go to Dallas. So they're going to have a lot more losses here. But they have baked in a 6-2 start, which is a pretty good way to start. Maybe a sneak into the playoffs, but man, I wouldn't pick them to win a game if they got there. My takeaway, Ray, is on the other side. It's one Geno Smith. If things just stopped today, season's over. Geno Smith, Ray, can say this was my best season ever. Mm-hmm. Already, it's his best season ever. And what is so rare about this is it's his 9th year in the NFL. And you can't say, well, it's his 9th year, but he finally got a chance. Geno Smith has had 3 or 4 chances at other spots. And yet it's this year in Seattle where it's working. And kudos to Smith, Ray, but I also got to say kudos to Pete Carroll. Like, I thought the dude was out of the building. You trade Russell Wilson. You're the oldest coach in the NFL. You're a hero in Seattle. You got a Super Bowl. You can just ride off into the sunset. You leave halfway through this season when the team's 3-10. Okay, I'm going to call it quits. Ray, he's shocking me. I'm really surprised how good this Seahawks team has played. And again, they are not a world beater. They're better than the Giants, but they're not a world beater. But Ray, what they've done with Geno Smith, Kenneth Walker jumping in there and not missing a beat. The defense still excels. They still have a home field advantage. And then you got these 2 wide receivers that we know that can make plays. At least when the ball doesn't bounce off their face mask, like Tyler Lockett had yesterday. That was pretty rough. But, man, I just want to give a shout-out. Smith and Carroll, 2 guys totally left for dead. Didn't think they had it in them. And both guys, Ray, are kind of turning the season on its head. They've been a huge surprise up there.
They absolutely have been. And, you would think that it was Russell Wilson under center, right? That's how Geno Smith has performed. That's how the team has performed. And, this is another example of something that we talk about at fantasyguru.com all the time. And again, you can use that code BETTOR, BETTOR. People put far too much emphasis on individual talent and skill in the NFL. So much of this is about the coaching staff and the play calling. And you're seeing it. You see Russell Wilson with the coach, and the coaching staff doesn't know what they're doing. He sucks. You see Geno Smith with the coaching staff that knows what they're doing. They're just fine. So it's just another example of this, and Jeff, I hear Jeff Mann's in my ear. He says it all the time. If you're great at running left and the coach wants the play to run right, plays run right. And you're if you can't do it, you're just out. You suck. You know what I mean? It's like the coaching staff, they need to maximize their talent. They need to put players in a position to have succeed, and they need to execute. The players do. And what we're doing here in Seattle is we've got a coaching staff that's putting the players in to succeed. And Geno Smith is executing. He's playing really good football. He's not doing anything dynamic, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns. Whoopie-doo, right? But the offense works. He avoids mistakes. They keep positive plays coming, and they win football games. It's really nice to watch for him. I'm very proud of him and happy for him, actually.
Yeah, Geno Smith looking like Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's looking like Geno Smith. That's kind of topsy-turvy year we're having. Speaking of Russell Wilson, for at least a day, the Vultures can take an afternoon off. They're not circling over all things Denver. Broncos go to London. They piss off Ray Flowers by playing in the morning, but they do get a win. 21-17, Denver over Jacksonville. Again, it had to be a matchup with Jacksonville to get the win. But Ray, a win is a win is a win, as they say. My takeaway here, there's not much. 21-17, and it was kind of the same Jaguars. It was kind of the same Broncos. The only thing different, as far as I see, Ray, is that Greg Dulcich should be on every fantasy league roster out there. Every league out there should have Greg Dulcich on a roster. And a lot of them, Ray, should just start him. This is now 3 straight good games for Greg Dulcich at tight end. Those are the only 3 games he's played. Remember, he was injured at the start of the season. He has come into this lineup, Ray, and people are going to look at the numbers and say, what are you talking about? There's nothing exciting here. There is at tight end. That's exciting. And getting 3 straight good games is, unless you're Kelsey or Andrews, it doesn't happen. Maybe Ertz, maybe Goddard, but really it doesn't happen. And Ray, he's had 3 straight. For those looking for a tight end, there's your pickup. That's the guy to get. And here's got to be the understanding. If you pick up a guy like Dulcich, grab him this week, and there's probably going to be a bit of a bid on him. Other people are going to be thinking the way I'm thinking right now. You must commit to just rolling with him for the next month. It's not, I picked up Greg Dulcich for week 9 and I got 2 catches for 17 yards. I'm dumping him and going elsewhere. Ray, for whatever reason, he's a part of this offense. They're not getting anything from Sutton and Judy. So Dulcich is going to have catches there. As long as you're in a PPR setup, totally fine with him as a tight end. Pick him up this week and roll with him. Take him through the month of November. Give him an opportunity. Don't be dumping him after one game. That's your tight end to pick up and roll through the month. And maybe it continues to pay off. 3 for 3. Again, unheard of at the tight end position, and we're getting it from Greg Dulcich. What's your takeaway, Ray?
10 points a week is legitimate at the tight end position. Just one note, they're on bye this week.
Okay.
So you absolutely add them. But you're going to have to wait.
Well, maybe get them for like $1 or $2 since they're on bye.
Get them for a little bit less. I don't know how many people realize, by the way, in case you weren't up because you live on the West Coast and you wanted to sleep in. This game was on ESPN Plus. How many platforms does the NFL need?
Yeah.
Like, you have to have 7 subscriptions to watch football games?
And Ray, I don't even know. I don't have ESPN. Do you have to subscribe to that, or do you just?
You have to subscribe to that. And luckily, I have a friend that loaned me his password. I don't have ESPN Plus. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't be able to watch the
Ray,
game.
I didn't even put in the effort. I saw this was on ESPN Plus and said, I'm not screwing around with this stuff on the phone. So what did I do? I listened to the game on Sirius XM. I listened to the Broncos broadcast. That's what I did. I was like, there's no way I'm going to sit here and A, pay, or B, try to figure out the tech on this to get it fired up on a Sunday morning.
Absolutely. And not that, people shouldn't subscribe to Sirius or whatever, but you have to pay for Sirius too. There's another, so that technically is platform 8.
Yeah.
It's just one that you already subscribe to. I don't know. Again, I've said this a lot. We started this early the NFL doesn't give a damn about any of us. It's just wild. It's just so. Hopefully, folks, if you were up, you got to watch the game. ESPN.
Yeah, at least they did it with a Jags Broncos game.
Yeah, it's true. ESPN Plus.
That's the positive.
I think it's the first game and I think ever that I watched on a computer because I always have my screens and I had to watch it on the computer. My takeaway is this: that look, last year we just talked about the Rams and the crappy Rams offense. They've got Allen Robinson, who's actually caught 5 passes the last 2 games, shown a little bit of life. But last year, Allen Robinson was a ghost with the Bears, right? We all these expectations. His previous 2 healthy seasons, he caught 98 and 102 passes, whatever it was. He was averaging 100 catches. We knew it would go down a little bit with Justin Fields come in, but he vanished from the offense. Like there were periods of time, like is he even playing football, right? We've got the same thing going on with Courtland Sutton with Denver, and I don't understand this. Like in Allen Robinson's case, the Bears sucked. They had bad quarterback play. Okay, I get it. The Broncos offense is problematic. Let's be fair about that. But how do you not get Sutton more involved? He had 1 catch yesterday. He had 4 targets. 4. Now, we can talk about play calling. We can talk about where Russell Wilson is at as in development. We can talk about his icing of his shoulder that everyone was reporting was happening that didn't actually happen. We can talk about him stretching on the plane. And we can talk about all this stuff. But how does Russell Wilson throw 4 passes to Courtland Sutton? 4, it's 5 to Dulcich. It's 7 to Judy. Melvin Gordon had as many targets. Like, you've got to get this guy involved. And I, for the life of me, can't understand how you have a 6'4", 220-pound receiver that can physically dominate opponents, that when healthy has had tons of success in this league, and he's not even part of the offense. It's not that he's not producing. He's not part of the offense. And what is going on? I don't even understand what's going on here. They got so many problems with Denver, and they keep creating new ones even as they inch things forward.
And what's crazy to me, Ray, is yesterday they scored 21 points. They did nothing special. It wasn't like, oh, wow, they had this play and that play. Like, there was very little of that. But, Ray, that's the second time this year they've topped 20 points.
Yeah, they don't have done anything.
Like, this offense is dead. And it's crazy to think, like, you're talking about Sutton, but you got Russell Wilson. Okay, is he overrated? I guess so now. For 8 years, everybody loved Russell Wilson, but now he's overrated and he's junk. I guess we were all wrong for 8 years. You bring in Nathaniel Hackett, who, again, had the relationship with the Packers, Aaron Rodgers, all that. Maybe we overrated his play calling or his offensive expertise. But, Ray, it is stunning to see that all the struggles that started way back in like week 1, week 2, they're still there. Mm-hmm. Like, they've figured out nothing. They haven't made any progress. And talking about Sutton, talking about Wilson, talking about Jerry Jeudy, I don't foresee it turning around. Like, it's almost too late. They may have a game that pops somewhere along the line. But, Ray, I don't have much hope anymore for this offense. And I was one of the proponents of this offense. I thought they were going to be a top 5 offense this NFL season. I'm probably more wrong with that than I was about Derrick Henry. Like, they are so far from being competent offensively. It's really shocking. I mean, they just haven't had, like, I'd love to look back at the 28 quarters of football they've played, Ray. How many have even been average? Like 2? Like quarters. They have been lost at sea all season, and there's really, they get the win, great, but there's no sign of them coming up for air here and racking up some more W's, and at the very least getting an offense that can put some points on the board.
The first 5 games this season, Courtland Sutton averaged 6 catches for 83 yards. That was his average for the first 5 games. That's a weekly play. Let's go. We're all fine with that. The last 3 games, he's caught 6 passes for 50 yards. What? And, I've read a lot about this and tried to dig into what's going on. And it basically comes down to this. They're running a very timing-based offense. And if everything doesn't work right, you suck. Then that's just how it is. And there are literally Hall of Fame quarterbacks that have been in this system that have sucked until they figured it out. And the idea is it's so timing based and steps and angles and all this kind of stuff that once it's rolling, it's like the Niners offense. When Jimmy Garoppolo is rolling, you saw it yesterday. The Niners can't be stopped. Like, they legitimately stop themselves. They just go out and they 5 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards, 5 yards. They just go down the field. This is what the Denver Broncos could do. They're not doing it because they haven't got it. And I think part of the problem is not only the players not got it, the coaching staff is in disarray. I mean, there's all these rumors that Hackett might get fired. They somehow win the football game yesterday. They didn't play well. They didn't do it. I didn't do anything to impress me. He's going to keep his job because they won the game, I guess. But it's a top-down thing. And it's always possible that things will click. They lost Javonte Williams. Russell Wilson's been hurt. I mean, you mentioned Dolchich hasn't been around. Like they've had a hard time getting the entire crew together. You add in questionable coaching. You add an entirely new scheme for all these guys, and it's just been a miserable first half of the season. But again, we went from starting Sutton every week, getting 6 catches for 83 yards, to him going 3 weeks without even getting to his average the first 5 games. It's vexing.
Yeah, and you'll have to find a replacement for him this week, as Ray noted, a bye week. I was just looking at their season results, Ray. If you were to look at like the 10 worst games of the NFL this year, and we might have had a couple of them yesterday, I don't know. But Ray, you might be able to put the Broncos like in 5 of those spots, like of the worst, most boring games. Obviously the Indianapolis game, but that San Francisco game on Sunday night, that's got to be in there. That Texans game in week 2 where it was 16-9. 2 weeks ago against the Jets, 16-9. Yesterday, I don't know if it's one of the 10 most boring, but it was like a snoozer of a back and forth between the Broncos and the Jags. Even that Monday nighter to open the season, it was exciting because of the storyline of Russ coming back to Seattle, and it went down to the end. So that's not boring. But man, these scores are just atrocious. And right now, the Seahawks are 31st in scoring, or excuse me, the Broncos are 31st in scoring. They're second in points allowed. So, like, Ray, they could vary. They're 3-5 right now. With the defense they have played this year, this should be like a 6-2 team. Like, this record should be totally flipped with as good as their defense has been playing. It really speaks to the offense has just lost so many of these games. The defense is doing everything they can, but the offense is totally dead right now.
Yeah, and that is a huge overlooked piece of this because we spent so much time talking about the coaching and the struggles on offense that we haven't given props to the defense, who's really kept them in the games, really, because their offense is doing nothing. 3-5. I mean, there's a chance they could make the playoffs still, and you wouldn't want to face this defense if it's going, but the offense is just a mess.
Well, as bad as their offense has been all year, it was not as bad yesterday as one of their competitors in the AFC West, the Las Vegas Raiders. Yuck. Burn that tape. 24-0. The Saints with a victory over the visiting Raiders. Ray, what's your takeaway from the shutout pitched by the Saints on Sunday?
Ugh.
Another bad offense?
Yeah. I mean, Derek Carr, like, what's going on here? Like this offense, all the accolades, another scenario, right? All the accolades have gone to Josh Jacobs. What happens when Josh Jacobs isn't scoring 2 touchdowns and producing 140 yards? The answer is the Raiders are going in reverse. Derek Carr averaged 3.9 yards an attempt yesterday, which makes Brett Rippon look like a superstar. Like
it's like Ray, all of his receivers became Deontay Johnson overnight.
Yeah. Well, Deontay Johnson's at 5. Deontay Johnson is 25% better. You can't, I mean, is this high school? Like, you can't win doing that. It's not possible. So, I mean, Darren Waller, I don't know if he wants to play football anymore. I don't know if his body's broken from all the stuff he did away from the sport. I don't know. Jacobs runs into a defense that's able to slow him down. They got nothing. Hunter Renfrow can't do it. He can't create anything on his own. Mac Hollins is just a guy. He had a nice game yesterday, but he's just a guy. So, it's Devontae Adams or bust, and Carr couldn't even get the ball to Devontae Adams. So, I mean, I had a question earlier today. I'm on Twitter and Instagram at @Ray Flowers. Someone said, I'm in a Superflex league. Do I pick up Heineke over Derek Carr? And it's like, I don't want to do that because I don't believe in Heineke. I said it earlier.
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, but it's like Carr in this is so ineffective right now. I understand the desire to want to do it, and it was never worse than it was yesterday, Kyle. He would not push the ball down the field. He generally doesn't make mistakes. He threw a pick yesterday, but he generally doesn't make mistakes. But we've kind of lost the last month and all the accolades for Jacobs, just how ineffective this game has been for the Raiders through the air.
Yeah, it was bad yesterday, admittedly. You get shut out in the NFL, that means you had a horrid performance at the office that day. So I'm not excusing what did go down. I will say, Ray, the overall picture is still okay here, at least in my estimation. This is a team that can score. Now, is that all driven by Josh Jacobs? Maybe it was. But you look at, we're talking about Denver and their struggles. Vegas hasn't really had that problem this year, Ray. I mean, just a week ago, it's 38 points. Now, it was Houston, so understand that's Houston. But before that, they got 29 against the Chiefs. They had 32 against the Broncos, 22 on the road at Nashville, 23 against the Cardinals, 19 to open the season. Hasn't been great, but it's still average. Like yesterday really sucked. And that's like when you throw in the Heineke or Carr, I'm still going Carr, Ray. There's still Devontae Adams to throw to. He has a history. Yesterday was yuck. Yesterday was dastardly. I would say if somebody drops Derek Carr in your league, that's a pretty good QB2. I'd be jumping on that rebound, Ray, to get Derek Carr as my QB2 down the stretch.
Like Essie in the chat said that he dropped Carr to pick up Dalton. Like that's where we're at.
I'm not doing that either.
I wouldn't either. But again, it's very difficult when, you and I could sit here and say, look, here's the offense. We could say, these are the weapons. We can say, this is what the likely projection is. We can say all these things. But it's very difficult if you're losing games because of your quarterback. Like the quarterback is supposed to be the position that gives you the 16 points every week, and then you figure everything else out, right? Derek Carr's got 4 touchdown passes in 4 games, and he hasn't thrown for 245 yards one time. I'm losing. I lost to the league because I had Daniel Jones. I lost in another league because I had Matthew Stafford. Like these are guys that theoretically could, but they're not doing anything. And Carr is in that area, started out great, but he's trended in the other direction. I agree with you. I think he's a decent QB2. I'm not excited about him. I'm not going to beat the doors down. But with some of the crappy quarterback play we are getting, if he is available and you're in a super flex or a 2 QB league, I absolutely understand the desire to make him part of your squad.
Now, somebody's gone all Kyle Elfrink in the chat room, Ray. They're saying PJ Walker over Derek Carr. Right?
No.
Well, here's one. Mariota or Derek Carr. I probably still go Carr. The results, Ray, scream Mariota, though. But like fantasy results, and maybe you should say at this point, just go with the results. Like, I'm not a fan of Mariota's game. I watch him, and it's like, this guy's a joke. How are they winning? How are they first place in the South? Like, he's not that good, but Ray, somehow he gets the fantasy points. So despite my limitations, when I think of Marcus Mariota, are we serious? You can't really dispute the numbers he's putting up, and Carr isn't putting up.
Well, but see that my never-ending harangue about this, we don't record points properly for quarterbacks.
But we know that, Ray. It's settled. It's done. But we know how they do record points, and because that, isn't Mariota a better guy than Carr the rest of the way?
But that's the problem. Marcus Mariota is averaging 179 yards and 1.1 touchdown a game. That's worse than Derek Carr. Like that's nothing. And he throws the ball 24 times a game. Yeah. There's nothing there.
Oh, but he can run.
But he runs. So do you want to play that game? Do I want a quarterback that I legitimately can't expect to throw the ball for 180 yards and throw 22 passes in a game? No. I don't. I would take Derek Carr. And if it ends up being wrong, and it very well could, certainly it's been wrong to date. Could it be wrong the rest of the way? Yes. I also look at Mariota, and they're 4-4, so he's still got rope here. But they fall to 4-6, and he throws 4 picks the next 2 weeks. It might be Desmond Ridder time. I mean, so I'm sticking with Derek Carr.
Okay. My takeaway from this shutout victory by the Saints is we saw a turn back the clock effort from one Alvin Kamara. That was peak Alvin Kamara yesterday. And we are told he is not on the market. A lot of people have been mentioning Alvin Kamara as maybe someone to the Eagles or someone to the Rams. We're told right now, 24 hours away from the deadline, that's not the case. That may be true, but yesterday was a really good showcase of what Alvin Kamara can do for some of these other contenders. I'll tend to believe the reports. He's not on the market, but Kamara needed that sort of game. And actually, Ray, you brought this up every time we talk about the Saints leading into the weekend. Dalton is better for Kamara, and he was dominating yesterday. Now, I will remind everybody, those were his first touchdowns of the year. So he'd been relatively quiet. He had not been bad. He was still getting the yardage and, totaling over 100 combined yards. But yesterday was like the Alvin Kamara that wins you leagues. I don't know if we're going to see a lot of that, Ray, but that was like when he was triumphant working with Drew Brees 3 years ago. That's what we saw yesterday. That was prime Alvin Kamara in that matchup and in that win.
Yeah, and remember, this is a continuation of him dominating with Dalton, and he did not do anything with Winston. He's not involved as a pass catcher with Winston because of the way Winston attacks defenses deep and over past the sticks and everything, whereas Dalton's more willing to avoid a mistake and dump it off. So his value would change potentially dramatically if there was a quarterback change with the Saints. Let's talk about the trades too. I find it fascinating to think that an NFL team is going to trade for a guy who, I mean, let's be clear about this. There's about a 98% chance he gets suspended when his legal situation gets taken care of. It sounds really bad with him. Okay.
But that's not going to happen this year, though.
It's not going to happen this year, but how do you then going to say to your fans, well, yeah, okay.
Cleveland had no problem saying it to their fans.
I know. So that's part of the problem with the NFL. No one cares. These guys can be really bad people. But there's that too. I don't know. But yeah, Kamara needed what happened yesterday. He still only ran for 60 yards, so it wasn't a dominating effort there. But he's basically running for 80 yards and catching 6 passes a game with Andy Dalton. And you sprinkle in the touchdowns that he had yesterday, and he's back to being a star in the fantasy game. Not just a good play, a great play, given the way their offense goes. Landry and Michael Thomas, I don't know, they're on a beach somewhere. I don't know. I don't even know if they play football.
I think Kadarius Toney and Kenny Galladay, Landry and Thomas, right? It's like they must be housing, shacking up together somewhere in Mississippi, just hanging out and catching crawfish. Because where are these guys right now?
I know they're housing checks. They're cashing those checks. But, I mean, this is – and, again, conspiracy theory. How have the Saints not put Landry or Michael Thomas on IR? Like, are we like seriously think about this, folks? Is it just they don't have money? Is it that they didn't know? Is there something else going on? Because
is it that they're not injured?
Well, yeah. How do you misdiagnose 2 players and misdiagnose them for a month? Something's going on there. I mean, read between the lines. Something's going on there. But yeah, it's this offense is Olave and Kamara. That's it. And it's great for their fantasy outlook.
Okay, moving on to another guy who had a turn back the clock performance. Let's go to Dallas, Chicago. How about those offensive fireworks? Final score 49-29. 78 points between the Cowboys and Bears. I mentioned turning back the clock. Dak Prescott, Ray. Passing, running, spreading out the football, racking up points. I think I said going in to this Week 8 game, when we previewed this matchup with the Cowboys and the Bears, I said, man, Dak, it may never get back to where it was 3 years ago. 2-3 years ago, Dak was willing to throw. He was running around. He's racing around. He's peppering the receivers. He's racking up 300-yard games. The Cowboys are one of the top scoring offenses in football. We hadn't seen that in quite a while with Dak. And Ray, I kind of wondered if it was forever gone. Immediately going to yesterday's game, he brought it back. I mean, from the first snap, he was ready to play. And I think specifically his ability to get outside and run and kind of use that and return to that style of play was huge. I don't know if he can sustain it, but Ray, that did remind me of what the Cowboys offense was supposed to be this year. It's kind of been just blah this season, but yesterday they totally flipped the script. And I will add, I know people are saying, oh, the Bears, who care? That's still a pretty good defense. It's not a bad defense. They put almost 50 points on that team, and they came out from the very beginning and punched them in the mouth. It was an impressive effort from the Cowboys, and for me, the most impressive part was Dak there.
So more surprising, Kyle, that they scored 49 and they gave 29 up to the Bears, even though they were ahead and they dominated.
I kind of think that's just being ahead and wanting to get out of there with a victory.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, the offense. I mean, this was the offense that we expected, and it changed when Cooper Rush had to take over, and then we saw Dak Prescott come back from the thumb injury, and it looked like Cooper Rush was still a quarterback. And Dak Prescott, interesting enough, only threw 27 passes. Like, it wasn't like he threw the ball 48 times, right? But the Cowboys just stormed them. I mean, it was over. Like, they won this football game from start to finish. Prescott looked good as a passer. He uses athleticism. He had the rushing touchdown. If anyone didn't see it, go type into your search engine, Dak Prescott quarterback sneak. In one of the worst displays of tackling in modern football history. He did a quarterback sneak, ran into the line, spun off the line, and ran for 25 yards on a quarterback sneak.
And really, for those who didn't see it, Ray, it was one of those snaps where you turtle as soon as you get the football. Yeah. Like, he lowered his head like, somebody's going to hit me, right? Somebody's going to take my legs out, right? I'm going to get like 1,800 pounds of defensive players on me. Right? Never happened. Nope. And he just kept moving, right? It was an astounding lack of defensive ability there.
He spun off, and there was almost like that. You could see that 1 second of, oh, shit, I'm in the open field. I'm going. Like, it was just like, no. But, yeah, to your point, the offense worked. And, when the offense is working with Dallas, that's a good offense. And, they're still trying to, I think, put all the pieces together consistently. But we were reminded yesterday what can happen with Dak Prescott under center.
How about your takeaway from the Cowboys' nearly 3-touchdown victory over the Bears?
Yeah, by the way, a couple of notes real quickly. Mark Ingram's got an MCL sprain, tear, whatever, so he's likely to miss 3 to 4 weeks, which further cements Kamara. I see Scott in the chat room. Maybe what do you guys thought about McCaffrey? You did miss it, so if you have the ability to listen on demand, we spent a whole section talking about the Niners offense. My takeaway is in the backfield as well here. And, I, coming into the season, was a David Montgomery guy. And David Montgomery still gets his work. And David Montgomery still runs more routes. David Montgomery still sees more snaps. But Khalil Herbert is the better running back right now. And it's not, I don't know if it's really a debate. The debate is what is the workload. And coming into this game, it was my player to watch for was Khalil Herbert in this game to see what the workload looked like. Because last week, their workloads were very similar. What did we see yesterday? 16 carries for Herbert, 15 for Montgomery. So we're trending into full-blown running back by committee now. That's just where we're at. Herbert has been more effective on a per-touch basis. I think he leads the NFL in yards per carry. He's been terrific. He had 99 yards and a touchdown again yesterday. He's explosive. The only hesitancy with listing him again ahead of Montgomery is, again, how, if a guy's on the field for 22 snaps, can he really touch the ball 17 times each week? Like, at some point, doesn't the defense say, oh, he's on the field, he's getting the ball? Montgomery still dominates in terms of snap counts and running routes over Herbert, but Herbert continues to impress, much like the other side of the football field. Very interesting, because Dallas continues to go with Ezekiel Elliott, but really, as we saw yesterday as well, Tony Pollard is the better pure running back at the moment.
Yeah, he's just younger. He's got more speed. He's got more spunk. I mean, Zeke, God loves Zeke, and he'll still get his opportunity, but the Cowboys are denying the obvious if they're going to keep giving Zeke a majority of the carries. That's going to be maybe a discussion for another day. I would suspect Zeke is going to miss another game or two, probably. Why force it? Let this guy get healthy. You're going to be in the playoffs. You want a healthy Zeke. So I wouldn't be surprised if they really slow play it there. On the Bears side, Ray, this is now 2 straight games going back to Monday night and then this game yesterday where the Bears called a game that worked and they let Justin Fields make use of his abilities, make use of his mobility. Keep doing it. Look at these rushing totals for the Bears offense the last 3 games. This is just rushing yardage. Yesterday, 240. Last Monday against New England, 243. The game before that, that lousy one against Washington, 237. Ray, if this team knows what's good for them, we should see nothing but running from these 3 guys. Herbert, Montgomery, Fields. You have a trifecta like that, Ray, it's tough to stop. And I hope this coaching staff sticks with it. We were talking about San Francisco doing what they should do, using McCaffrey. Do that. Make sure you make – this is what the Bears should be doing, Ray. They've had 2 straight games, and I know they've only gone 1-1. But honestly, they played pretty well. Probably their best 2 offensive games of the season have come in the last 2 weeks. Keep doing this. So you wonder about Herbert or Montgomery or Fields. I look at all 3 of those guys, and I got to think to myself, they'll keep calling the game this way. These guys can make you miss. These guys can rack up yards. They will have to run to have any measure of success, to have any chance of winning. They're 3-5, believe it or not. They're not that far out of the race right now. We should see a lot of running from this team, Ray. I don't know if they can pull off 240 every week, but those last 3 weeks, I mean, take a clue, man. This should be the offense moving forward for the Bears, using Herbert, using Montgomery, and using Fields.
Yeah, and we talked about how last year the coaching staff never figured this out. We talked about how it took the coaching staff 6 weeks this year to figure it out, but they finally figured it out. And this is not, I mean, again, you and me, Kyle, these 2 schlubs sitting in chairs here on Halloween, we could have told them this in week 1. Like, what took so long? And you can look at the last couple of weeks and say, oh, it's had success. You guys are, come on, guys. No, this is what they should have been doing. Whether it was working or not from week 1, this is the way the offense should have been working from week 1. I don't know why it took them so long to figure it out. But now they've figured it out. They are a threat to run for at least 150 yards every week, if not 200. To your point, Kyle, they 23 pass attempts yesterday in a game that they were getting blown out, trying to come back. So they only threw it 23 times. So this is what the offense is. We got Chris C in the chat room asking Derek Carr or Justin Fields. I'm not going to tell you can't go Justin Fields at this point.
Yeah, you got to go Fields.
Yeah, because
they finally have figured out how to. You trust them to stick with this. It's been working. That's got to be the call is Justin Fields here.
Yeah, and a bad effort for him at this point is 45 rushing yards. That's 100 plus passing yards right there, right? I mean, so it's Justin Fields. He's more dynamic. He's more exciting. There still will be the games where, it's no touchdown passes. And if he doesn't get a rushing touchdown, it's not going to be a big effort. But the offense is rolling right now. The Bears don't have a bye till week 14. So you got a long run here to roll with Justin Fields if you have him as your QB2.
And let me tell you that the schedule loosens up here. Like the upcoming run of games, and I don't mean loosen up as, a lot of wins here for the Bears. It loosens up for Fields to have good success. Miami, Detroit, Atlanta, the Jets, and the Packers. Like that's a really strong run for any quarterback, and certainly for Justin Fields. That's about as good as it can get. Dolphins, Lions, Falcons, Jets, Packers. None of those defenses are what you would call like upper end, top 10 at all. Those guys can be hurt whenever you're running or throwing the football. So good things may be coming up for Fields. Speaking of one of those teams, Detroit, let's go there. Yesterday, they didn't have any defense. In fact, Ray, we have just learned that they have fired their defensive backs coach after yesterday's debacle against Miami.
Yeah, and, this defense is bad. And the Lions have been in games. They're a good story. There's a lot to like. There's been a lot of fantasy production from the squad, but they're 1-6. Yeah. And, they can't stop anyone on the defensive side of the ball at the moment.
And weren't they everybody's pick to surprise this year? Same old Lions. Man, it's amazing what being on HBO will do for your reputation. Oh, the Lions are coming. Ooh, that Dan Kemp, 1-6. They're the same exact franchise they've always been, just 1-6. They do have more talent. I don't mean to pile on, but the wins and losses, you can't deny what the record is. 1-6 right now for the Lions. My takeaway here, and it kind of has to do with the Lions defense, although I'll say this, they got strafed by Tua yesterday. They got beaten consistently by Hill and Waddle. I will say, Ray, Tua's not perfect. Not a finished product, not consistent enough for me to say QB1. But man, oh man, working with Hill and Waddle, Ray, that's a ceiling that not many other quarterbacks have. So Tua, to his credit, has taken advantage of these guys. I'm a bit caught off guard, Ray, how well it has worked when he's out there. And I was looking at the numbers today. Tua right now, completing 70% of his passes. He leads the NFL, all quarterbacks. He leads the NFL in QB rating. He leads the NFL in QBR. He leads in yards per attempt in like every category, net yards, advanced yards, air yards. Like Tua's up there at the top. Yesterday, Ray, he was 15 of 18 for over 200 yards on passes over 10 yards. Like he was on. And again, I don't think it's every week yet, but already I'm a bit surprised how quickly it's come this year for him. This offense under Mike McDaniel, it's got some things cooking. They're a lot more dangerous throwing the football than I would have expected 8 weeks in.
Yeah, it's a new coaching staff. It's a new head coach. Matt Applebaum's a new offensive line coach. Last year, they were last in the league in pass blocking and 30th in run blocking. They were awful. They made changes. They changed players. They changed coaching staff, and boom. This is not the most complicated thing in the world. Jeff Mann's on his One Man's Opinion podcast, which is now actually carried on Stitcher and SiriusXM. He did an entire hour and a half long podcast this preseason about the Dolphins. That was all he talked about for an hour and a half. And he said, look, if this comes together the way I think, it's going to happen. And it's gone exactly as Jeff laid out. And Tua has taken huge advantage of that. I do find it comical that, and I'm saying this jokingly, but really not jokingly, has Tua Tagovailoa not underthrown every pass to Tyreek Hill? And I mean, he throws 12-yard passes, they're underthrown. Every pass to Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is constantly stopped running. And I know he keeps saying, he's so much better than Pat Mahomes stuff. If he was working with Pat Mahomes with the routes he's running in that offense, he'd have 9 touchdowns right now. Tua has to hump up to throw the ball 40 yards. It's painful to watch. But when it talks about the timing, when you talk about the crossing routes, when you talk about the offense rolling, getting the ball into his players, he is extremely good underneath. He can't do anything over the top, and I don't know if he ever will. But the offense doesn't necessarily need him to do that with Waddle and Hill in particular offering so much to the offense.
31-27, the final. Really explosive first half between these two teams. It was a lot more quiet in the second half. What's your takeaway from the win by the Dolphins on the road in Detroit?
Yeah, my takeaway is that, I said earlier that, Terry McLaurin is the truth. Jamal Williams is the truth. He's got 4 games this year with 2 rushing touchdowns. And, when I see a question in the chat room, from Chris C, is Swift now the backup to Jamal Williams? It's the Swift stuff, Swift is dynamic. He's more dynamic than Jamal Williams. There's no doubt about that. He's going to be more involved as a pass catcher. I feel very confident with that. We saw, Swift return from the shoulder issue, did nothing on the ground, still got in the end zone. It's a lot closer than we thought. I think a lot of people thought it would be, 60-40 Swift, something like that, right?
Yeah.
The concern with anyone drafting Swift all along was, would Jamal Williams steal goal line work? Was that, and he's not stealing goal line work. He is the goal line back, Jamal Williams, period. Yeah. So the question now becomes, can Swift stay healthy enough to be anything more than running back 19 because he's catching 5 passes a week? Because he's just, the goal line job is Jamal Williams, continues to be Jamal Williams. And Kyle, he's a touchdown maker. I mean, it's just, it's just, we're talking Landale White. He's not quite to that level because he's a little more involved, but it's very similar to that. He just scores touchdowns.
Yeah, there's a couple of things going on for me. One is Jamal Williams, Ray, has totally taken advantage of the opportunity. Mm-hmm. Like, his results are, you can't ignore them. So full credit to him. He got this opportunity. He's just run with it. Number 2 is I think the Lions pretty well understand that DeAndre Swift is a guy they're going to have to manage reps for and spot him in certain places. Now, what does that mean for the fantasy player? What did he have yesterday, Ray? 8 touches? But
5 carries and 5 catches.
Okay, so 10 touches. He did find the end zone, so everybody's fine with that. He's going to be a guy, Ray, that is not the easiest start the rest of the season, but I think you have to keep starting him. Like, if DeAndre Swift is out there, and you may have some real duds, because if he's not getting in the end zone, I don't know if we're getting much more than like 10 to 12 touches a week, which isn't bad. It's probably still flex. You can still stick him in as a flex, but that is a pullback from the expectations. Remember, late first round, early second round on DeAndre Swift coming into this year. And Ray, again, part of it is the injury bug has reared its ugly head. But a big deal, too, is Jamal Williams. I mean, he has just absolutely owned this position. You can't, like the Lions, they're 1-6. They got a lot of things going wrong. Jamal Williams ain't one of them. And when you have so many things going wrong, you don't change the things that happen to be going right. And that's why Williams, Ray, as long as he's on the field, he probably keeps this role. I don't think that's changing. Like, even if Swift has big games or if Swift can stay healthy, I think we're still seeing a ton of Williams down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, and there's been some injury here, of course, but DeAndre Swift, 5 carries, 7 carries, 5 carries. You take away that 50-yard run he had in week 1, there's nothing to see on the ground. And yesterday was the first time he caught more than 3 passes. He's, and again, I know the shoulder and everything, but that's part of the problem. It's the 3rd year he's missed games. And we said it when the season began. He was a risky pick for the physical component. And now with Williams asserting himself so directly, he's a little bit risky, DeAndre Swift, moving forward. To your point, you still start him, but the floor is now much lower than it was thought to be.
Got 58 total points in that Dolphins win over the Lions. Let's go to a spot just north of Detroit where we got 60 points in a Vikings win over the Cardinals. Final score, 34-26. Vikes get the win, and they are now 6-1. And I've been seeing the stories, Ray, been hearing the rumblings of, the Vikings sneaking up on people. Which usually means, they're getting a really good performance from their quarterback, Kirk Cousins. Ray, fascinatingly enough, Kirk Cousins is the same dude he's always been. What do I mean by that? They're 6-1. He's been generally good, right? I think most people, you think of Kirk Cousins, okay, he's been pretty good this year. Do you realize Kirk Cousins still is not really a QB1? Like, he still has fewer points than Fields, than Lawrence, than Geno Smith. He's got fewer points, Ray, than Marcus Mariota this season. He's got fewer points than Daniel Jones this season. So, like, the team's winning. He's doing fine. But, Ray, he still can't get into the top 10. He's not even top 12 in most scoring setups right now for Cousins. I'm not criticizing him either. I'm just saying Kirk Cousins is Kirk Cousins. This is what it is. It's not better. It's not worse. It's Kirk Cousins. Team is winning, so the vibe is different. but he's not doing anything special or anything out of the ordinary. He's just quite simply, Ray, being Kirk Cousins this year.
2 passing scores yesterday, 232 yards, very ho-hum kind of their effort. But the athleticism he showed on that touchdown run, I mean, he beat the guy to the corner, Kyle. But I mean, to your point, yeah, you would kind of think, hey, it's 290 and 3 every week. It's not. But as you said, at the end of the season, if Kirk Cousins is quarterback 12, would I be surprised at all? No. He is what he is. He goes out and does his thing, and at the end, he plays all the games, and it's good numbers.
Well, what had me thinking about this, Ray, is I'm in a 16-team league, and he's my QB, and I obviously waited. Didn't draft a QB early, just kept waiting and waiting and waiting. And I woke up and it's like, man, I really outsmarted the system with that pick of Kirk Cousins. Here it is. I drafted this guy as the 14th quarterback off the board, and he's got to be top 6 or top 7. No, he's not even close, Kyle. He's still like 12th or 13th, So I thought, Ray, I looked brilliant, but really he's just doing the same old, and I should be happy. It's still good, and I'm still winning in that league. What's your takeaway from the victory for the Vikings over the Cardinals?
Kyler Murray is laughably bad. I just wanted to put it out. It's not my takeaway, but it's comic. He's comically bad.
Oh, but Ray, here's the thing.
Yeah.
But all these other teams have truly laughably bad QBs.
Mm-hmm.
Kyler Murray's not worse than them, is he?
He's not. No, but the expectations based on draft capital and cost.
He paid like a superstar. Yeah. He treated like a superstar, and he ain't really a superstar.
Yeah. And just an FYI to any GMs that are watching the show out here, you can't have a 5'9" quarterback in the NFL.
Uh-oh.
You can't. Kyler Murray, Doug Flutie, it just doesn't work. Kyler Murray can't sit in the pocket. He just can't. He can't see.
Murray had a good career, Ray. Come on.
Yeah, he can't do it. My takeaway though is that DeAndre Hopkins. Where was this last year, by the way, with DeAndre Hopkins? Like DeAndre Hopkins getting 4 or 5 targets a week last year, and I'm sitting here going, "What the hell's going on all season long?" What does he have? 306 targets in 2 games since he's returned. He's the entire offense. The entire offense. And this is causing a problem for Zach Ertz. Now, Zach Ertz got in the end zone yesterday, and at the tight end position, you scored 13 points. You're fine. But Zach Ertz has seen 9 targets in 2 games. And both games since Hopkins has been back, he's had over 13 targets. So, we worried in general about what the role would be. Would Ertz, once Hopkins returned, be top end tight end 1, bottom end tight end 1? It's 2 games, but the early returns are strongly suggestive that Ertz is a bottom level tight end 1. He's still a guy that you can have confidence in. He's not in the realm of all these other streamers that everyone is rolling through each week. But his touchdown upside in this offense is a little bit capped. His history of being a huge red zone option isn't there. And if we're legitimately getting 4 targets a week from him, Kyle, we're getting 4 or 5 catches for 42 yards. And again, it's okay, but it is disappointing to see the worst outcome here for the return of Hopkins has been realized for Zach Ertz.
Yeah, you mentioned like double-digit points, Ray. At a tight end, really, I consider 9 points, 8.5 points good enough.
Right.
Like that's really good. Ertz should still be good for that.
Still be okay for that. Right.
And so understand what we're saying is at his position, it's still fine. And Ray, he probably still ends up maintaining the value that he had on draft day. Mm-hmm. 7th or 8th best tight end, or 6th or 7th, whatever it may have been. But it's not going to be better than that, I guess, is the key here. It's just kind of there. Is there a move to be made if you have Ertz? I don't think there is, Ray.
Why not? Yeah.
He's just your guy. You understand the position sucks. I'm sure, could you get lucky saying, I was talking about Greg Dulcich. Okay, could you get lucky? Or you go out and pick up Tyler Higbee. Okay, you could get lucky. But honestly, Ray, for anybody who has Ertz right now, don't go into that jumping around game at tight end. You're going to regret it. I think more. The likelihood of regret is much higher than the likelihood of appreciating what you did. I think if you have Ertz, you just hold and you ride it to the finish line.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, and it's just, he is now a floor play versus a ceiling play. And at the tight end position, there are not many floor plays. Like you're saying, 8 or 9 points each week, you're in the top 10 consideration every week at the tight end position. And that should be where his floor basically sits.
Vikings moved to 6-1 with that victory. Let's talk about a team that's even better than that. The Eagles are now 7-0. This game was over pretty quickly. 35-13 over the Steelers. Ray, what you walk away thinking about when you saw the Eagles beat up on the Steelers?
Yeah, the Steelers are cooked. It's just, as bad as Ben Roethlisberger was, he gave him a chance. And, I'm not blaming Kenny Pickett because he's a rookie. He's getting his feet wet. Offensive line isn't very good. They can't establish the run. No one's really stepping forward in the passing game. But Kenny Pickett just isn't the answer right now. He's just not. Super flex leagues, 2 QB leagues, you got to be looking for an upgrade. The offense just isn't working. It's one of those offenses where it's just not happening. And, did they get throttled by the Eagles? Yes. Was that expected? Sure. But 13 points, 191 yards, another turnover for Pickett. He's just not ready for prime time. And again, you and I are in the same boat with this. This is no negative to Kenny Pickett. He's a young guy getting his feet wet. But in the NFL, we just don't have time for that. In the fantasy game, we don't have time for that. And all the hopes that Pickett would reinvigorate the offense. He had the 2 rushing touchdowns. Everyone got excited when he came in for Trubisky at the start. It's been crap nothing. There's nothing here. And I don't know how much that changes. This offense is just stuck in the mud, Kyle.
Well, and I wanted to talk about this offense too, Ray. And it's, my favorite whipping boy this year, Najee Harris. It's crazy how bad this is. Do you realize Najee Harris hasn't gotten to 75 yards rushing once this season? Like we were talking about Jonathan Taylor earlier. This is worse with Najee Harris. On top of that, he is now down to 3.3 yards per carry. He is, I think, losing about 5 carries per game this year versus last year. His receptions are down a third per game. Ray, I get it. They don't have a good offense. They're bad, but they're also not using him much. Like you can say, well, they haven't been in competitive games, and they've had to pass more than they would like. It's not really true when you look at Pittsburgh. Actually, a lot of their games have been competitive. They just haven't been giving the ball to Najee near as much. And this goes back to when I see that, Ray, it's something's not right with him. There's a reason. I mean, he is seeing about 7 touches fewer per game this season than he saw last season. Again, the results suck, the line sucks, but why are we not getting the touches? And I see that in game 8 or game 7, and I say, what's the logical explanation? Dude's hurt. Dude's toughing it out. And again, much like Jonathan Taylor, I said, hey, we could get to December and he may shut it down. Still sensing the same thing with Najee Harris right now.
Well, part of the problem is Kenny Pickett is rolling as the leader of an offense that has scored 3, 20, 10, and 13 points. The offense sucks. And part of the problem is they can't pass the ball. Part of the problem is they can't run block. Part of the problem is they can't run. I mean, it's universal. It's all across the board. And so, I think really it's not about is Harris going to live up to expectations. He's not. The question is, can he be a usable piece? And the answer is, I don't even know if he's a flex option at this point. I really don't. And that I'm shocked by that, but it's just where we're at. And, there's Deontay Johnson a flex option. He catches 5 passes for 40 yards every week. This is another, and again, I'm a broken record, but this is another broken offense. It's just broken. They got nothing. They can't establish anything against any opponent in any game. It's just a mess.
Yeah, and back to that touch thing, because again, a lot of people, he's game scripted out. The Steelers suck. They're always true. Not like I said, not really. They won by 3. They lost by 3. They lost by 4. They lost by 2. They lost by 6. Now, yesterday they got blasted. They lost. So if it was just one game like this, okay, you write it off, whatever. But this is now a season of Najee Harris not getting the work, not getting the touches that he got all of last year. Really got all of last season. Moving along, we got a couple of more games as we pretty well erase the entire show in one segment here. That's what we do on Mondays. We like to talk. Ray, let's go to New England and the Jets, 22-17. You are not done picking on quarterbacks yet. You got another quarterback that you want to go after today, huh? Who are you throwing your jack-o'-lantern at right now?
Yeah, we were joking in IM yesterday as we were watching games and stuff with the crew over at fantasyguru.com. Use that code Bettor, BETTOR, for your discount. 355 yards and 2 touchdowns for Zach Wilson. That was maybe the worst 350 in 2 game ever. Zach Wilson is incredibly bad right now. Incredibly bad. And he threw 3 picks. And it wasn't just he threw 3 picks. One of the picks, he just flung the ball up. I don't even know what he just flung the ball up. Like it was high arching ball in the middle of the field. One of the worst throws you'll ever see. Then he was rolling to his right on another one of the picks and did a half-hearted flip. Didn't throw the ball out of bounds. It was picked on the sideline. Like, these are not mistakes. These are high school level mistakes from a guy who is supposed to be an organization's quarterback for the next 10 years. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable to do the things he did.
It is less than a year. Has he even played?
High school kids don't make these, but that's my point. Unacceptable mistakes.
No.
Mitch Trubisky is 400 light years ahead of him in terms of this stuff. And Mitch Trubisky's not very good.
Like that, Ray, if you're the Jets, you can't throw in the towel on Zach Wilson now, because then you're just doing a Jets thing. The Jets have got to give this guy at least 2 years. Give the guy 30 games before we say he's done and let's move on. Like, people in the chat room, let's go back to Joe Flacco. What? Like, they got to find their quarterback, right? You can't throw in the towel after 14 starts from Zach Wilson.
You're right about that. Joe Flacco wasn't even dressed yesterday, and every beat writer was shocked. They had no one had any understanding of why he was the third quarterback yesterday. The pull away from Zach Wilson, like the mistakes and stuff, you either get rid of those things or you become a backup quarterback, right? You can't. Those 2 interceptions that I described were they're, like I said, they're high school mistakes. They're unacceptable in the NFL. Unacceptable. The real problem beyond that and those poor decisions is that Zach Wilson's favorite quarterback has to be Aaron Rodgers. Zach Wilson never sets his feet. Zach Wilson never squares his shoulders. Zach Wilson never drives the football ever. He is always moving. He is always floating. He never sets his feet. He never drives into the ball. So what happens? He flings balls everywhere. His arm is incredibly strong, just like Aaron Rodgers. But I've said this with you for 10 years, Aaron Rodgers. You can't play quarterback that way. Aaron Rodgers is the only guy that can do that. Zach Wilson is trying to do that. It doesn't work. He needs to clean up his mechanics or he has no shot. He makes bad decisions and his mechanics are bad. He has no shot unless he fixes that part of his game.
Yeah, he's 18 games into his career. I guess it's 18 starts. And the numbers are not good. You're right, Ray. The numbers look ugly. There's a lot of interceptions. There's not many touchdowns. Completion percentage is like 55%. It's ugly. But you can't move on at this point. Like, Ray, they can't, like, and I know Joe Flacco may give him a chance to win more games this year. But you got to find out what you have.
You have to play him.
You have to play him. And you're right, it's been ugly, but I don't think the book is written. Did I love the Wilson pick when it was made? Not really. You know, didn't really jump out to me, but it's the pick they made. They got to give him time. 18 games is not enough time for that one. My takeaway in this game, the scintillating 22-17 final, check out Ramondre Stevenson's last 4 games. Look at this, man. 92 touches. 92 touches in his last 4 games. Over 500 combined yards for Ramondre Stevenson. He's got 3 touchdowns. I don't even want to think this, Ray, because this is the Patriots. But it's like, what more has a guy got to do? Like, shouldn't that kind of push Damian Harris completely to the side? It should. And I'm a Damian Harris guy. I've got him in a couple of leagues. I'd love to say, no, Harris is still the guy. Harris is still going to be charging. Look at these last 4 games, Ray, and I see what he means to the Patriots. He's their only consistent piece offensively. They got to ride this. And if you're a Stevenson owner, I think you're going to get good stuff down the stretch here.
Yeah, we still had 13 touches for Harris yesterday. He played 31 snaps to 49 for Stevenson. It's not appreciably different, I think, than what a lot of people would have told you. Like, that split, not shocking. The difference is twofold. One, Stevenson is getting all the receptions that people were hopeful would happen. That is occurring. And secondarily, it's not Harris at the goal line necessarily, right? So this could be one of those scenarios where it's 19 touches for Stevenson and it's 2 touchdowns for Damian Harris because he gets the ball to the 2-yard line twice. That still is in the back of my mind. But with what we have seen, to your point, Kyle, from Stevenson of late, Harris certainly looks like he's the caddy now. And he looks like a guy, because he's not heavily involved in the passing game, that needs that touchdown to pay off, whereas Stevenson is just getting so much volume as a centerpiece of this offense. He's obviously a plug-and-play starter at this point.
That Harris development, Ray, is going to affect a lot of owners out there, because I think he's their RB2 or he's their flex. And I don't, I'd have to see the matchups every week and what the other options are. But I would say, hey, man, when Damian Harris is healthy, just roll with him. And I still kind of lean that direction. I think there still will be moments for Damian Harris. Like maybe you've got other guys who have now emerged and become something. Maybe you've got Jamal Williams. Maybe you've got Donta Foreman, Damian Pierce. So you've got these other options. But for those who don't, I think you may be okay rolling Harris, but wanted to give a shout out to Stevenson because it's been dynamite ever since he moved in there. We'll wrap things up, Ray, with the Sunday Nighter. I guess you're going to tell me the Bills' offense is broken. Somehow they only scored 27 points, which a letdown. They didn't cover. No. They didn't cover last night. I was stunned by that. 27-17. What are you thinking about when you think about Bills and Packers from last night?
Yeah, they're we were talking about the tight end position, especially with Zach Ertz. And Dawson Knox scored a touchdown. And that's 2 touchdowns in 2 games for Dawson Knox. But what is Dawson Knox in this offense? The answer is he's a bit player. He had 2 catches for 10 yards last night. He hasn't had he didn't have a touchdown the first 4 games and scored the last 2. We know he got 9 touchdowns last season, so people get excited about him. But he's just not part of the offense. He had 6 targets in 2 games, caught 5 passes. He doesn't have a single game this season with 5 catches, doesn't have a single game with 45 yards. You want pieces of the Bills offense. That's fair. And Knox is a guy you can use at the tight end position, but he's a streaming option. If you have him, you can't feel good about it because whereas Zach Ertz, it's 4 catches for 45 yards every week, and then we hope he gets a touchdown. With Zach Ertz, with Dawson Knox, it's 2 catches for 29 yards, and he has to have the touchdown to pay off. So he's a tricky one to figure in the fantasy game. When he scores, he's fine. When he doesn't score, he's kind of just like every other tight end at the position.
Well, I'm staying with the Bills offense, Ray. Gabe Davis, playing totally true to form. I don't know how many people realize this. Ray, in week 5, 31 points. Probably won the week for people. In the other 7 weeks, and again, buys and injuries and stuff, but in the other 7 weeks, Ray, 43 total points. Like, this is the most boomer bust wide receiver we've got going. I said it after the 31 points. I said it before the 31-point effort. I'll say it again after last night's lack of numbers. You got to play him. If you drafted Gabe Davis, this is what you signed up for. This was the fear. There hasn't been that consistent every week 10 to 13 points. And some weeks he's in the 20s. There's none of that. You're getting that with Jalen Waddle, where he's kind of become that, a second banana, and he can do it. He can do it every week. We're not getting that with Gabe Davis. And I don't know, Ray, if that goes down as a disappointment or not. I mean, we still, he's got the excuse of missing a game or 2. But it's 70 points in the first 7 games, I guess, for the Bills. 10 points. Probably still good enough to be a wide receiver 3, but it's really pumped up by that 1 week. Everything else has kind of been a bad week for Gabriel Davis. He's got maybe one other week where you say, okay, I'm glad he was in my lineup. 75% of the season, Ray, he has not been a hit like people drafted him to be.
Yeah, and that 98-yard touchdown, what did he do? He ran down the middle of the field really fast. He didn't do anything. But he ran really fast and caught a ball. And he is 6'2", 210. Big guy, right? His production is eerily reminiscent of a guy who's about 5'10", 160, Deshaun Jackson. It's the same thing. It's the same level of production. And in the end, it's 7, 8 touchdowns, 9 touchdowns. It's 900 yards of okay. It's usable, but because we play the head-to-head game, it is tough with Davis, because if he doesn't get in the end zone, there's just not volume there to support him. Look at it: 37 yards, 13 yards, 35 yards. 6 games, excuse me, he hasn't got the 40 yards. So It is exactly as you described. Overall the numbers are solid. The boom weeks are huge, but the floor is pretty darn low for the number 2 receiver and what is, I think arguably the best offense in football.
Well, and they got a little bit of Chiefs going on with their offense, Ray. And that is a very fair comparison when you look at how they do it. Okay, they've got this, generational QB. I hate to use that word, but we'll generational QB. They really don't have a rushing attack. They don't have one in Kansas City. They really don't in Buffalo. They've got one absolute target in the passing game, Diggs in Buffalo, Kelsey in Kansas City. And then after that, it's a bunch of randos catching passes and scoring touchdowns. And we thought Gabriel Davis would make this a two-headed receiving attack. It's not there. So you look at both these offense, Chiefs and Bills, very, very successful. But they don't have near the fantasy impact that we get from other offenses. Other offenses, like you look at Philadelphia, you got Hurts, you got Goddard, you got Sanders, you got Brown, you've got Smith. You look at Miami, you've got Tua, you got Mostert, hell, you got Gesicki at tight end, you got Waddle, you got Hill. Like there's a good core of 4 or 5 guys. We don't have that with Buffalo. And we don't have that in Kansas City, which is kind of surprising, Ray, when you think about it. Like you said, best offense, Buffalo, probably number 2 would be Kansas City, according to most people. And yes, there are weapons. There's a QB, there's a lead pass catcher. After that, it's kind of messy behind those 2 lead cogs.
It's really fascinating, right? And then there's a lot of teams that are extremely top heavy, and we might feel better about 2 or 3 pieces, but the offense isn't as good. And it just goes, it just goes to show you, we talk about this a lot. It's frustrating in the fantasy game, but the ability to have 5 guys, 6 guys, 7 guys in a week that a defense knows can beat them, it's a huge advantage to an offense, but it makes it frustrating in the fantasy game.
There you go. We love doing it. Right at an hour and 50 minutes to get through all that Sunday action. Ray, do you need a drink of water?
I do. I need a drink of water. I need a costume change. Yeah.
Oh, are you going to change costumes today?
That's how I do it.
Wow. So stick around, folks. We'll let Ray get into a costume change. We've got more old Halloween costumes to show off from our previous years. What else do we got? Injuries. Although yesterday wasn't too bad on the injuries. I hope. Fingers crossed. We'll see. A lot of times we get news on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but right now we're looking pretty good on injuries. Lunch Hunch is coming your way. Let's see, Duke. We're going to hear from him in just a bit. We are going to talk a little World Series tonight. Game 3, Halloween in Philadelphia. Astros and Phillies split the first 2. They're off to Philly for Game 3 tonight. Oh, yeah, and there's Monday Night Football. Halloween in Cleveland. Ray, what do you think's wilder? Halloween in Philadelphia or Halloween in Cleveland? I'm going to say Philly.
I would say Philly too. Yeah, not without knowing Philly.
Yeah, there's probably a few people, Ray, who never left the parking lot after yesterday's Eagles game, and they're still there now getting set for tonight's Phillies game. For those who don't know, the stadiums are right next to each other. Same parking lot, everything. Now, I know people are going to tell me, they clear out the parking lot. It's Philadelphia, man. You don't tell people to leave the parking lot. They stay. They don't listen to the authorities. It's Philadelphia, man. So there are probably some strong souls who slept overnight and are getting raring to go for Game 3 this evening. So a lot still to come your way in our final hour plus. Ray, before we take our breather, bet du jour. You got a World Series bet tonight, right?
I do. Kyle Tucker's going over 1.5 total bases. It's a plus 130. 9 playoff games. He's got 3 home runs. He's got a 500 slugging percentage here in the playoffs. He's got an 850 OPS against right-handed pitching. He'll face Noah Syndergaard to start the game tonight. He's got an 866 OPS on the road. The game's in Philadelphia. It'll be a little bit of a bullpen game because Syndergaard's not going deep, but I still feel pretty good, about Tucker getting over 1.5 total bases, Kyle.
Okay, mine's actually going to go to Monday Night Football. I feel good about this one, which is why it's a bet du jour. Mixon and Chubb combined over 151.5. I like that number. It's minus 115. Now, Mixon has not topped 100 yards this year. Has not done that. Cleveland's run defense can be pushed around, though.
Absolutely. Yep.
You don't have Jamar Chase either. So maybe we see a bit more of Mixon than usual. We're going to see a lot of Chubb. That's a given. 151 sounds really enticing. So I'm going to eat that up, minus 115, and be good to go there. As for dessert today, it's Halloween. We will run through, according to the experts, Consumer Reports, the best and worst Halloween candies. And I'm sure Ray may dispute some of this list. I know you love Halloween, Ray. Are you a big candy guy or not so much?
I used to be when I was a chunky kid. I stopped eating a lot of candy when I was in high school. So I like candy, but could I get a bag of candy from trick-or-treating and plow through it in 3 hours? Absolutely not. It would make me sick.
Yeah. I like candy, Ray, but it's in very minimal quantity.
Like a piece a day kind of thing for me.
Yeah, like tonight, I may sneak into my kid's bag after he goes to sleep. Mm-hmm. And take away the bad stuff.
Of course.
Also known as the
for
good stuff. Yeah, for his health. I don't want him, thinking he gets Reese's peanut butter cups every morning for the next month. Dad's got to finish off some of that. So tonight will be a little different, but overall, I'm kind of with you there. But we will talk about Halloween candies, the good and the bad. Drink special, Ray. After this segment, we need a drink. What are you having today?
I've got a wheat beer with passion fruit, orange, and guava. It's the holiday season. It's Halloween. I'm celebrating with my coat. Let's celebrate, Kyle, with a little Tiki Time beer.
Time
beer.
That looks really generic there, Ray.
Yeah, it
that
does.
Looks like a generic
look,
beer.
It's got a bear on the side. Come on, he's holding the barrel there.
I've been to so many tiki bars with bears hanging out.
Yeah, well, it's tropical wheat beer. Again, it's actually, you hear grapefruit, orange, and guava, or passion fruit, orange, and guava, and you think, oh man, really? It's not really that bad. There's a little bit of citrusy. I'd say it's more citrusy, kind of like a cider, but citrusy like. A solid beer, Tiki Time.
My drink is similar, Ray. Last night, you remember me talking about this last week, that Sunday night was going to be date night, anniversary night for me and my wife. We found an excellent restaurant. Sundays are kind of tough to find restaurants nowadays. Mm-hmm. A lot of them close on Sundays, it seems like. But we found a very good restaurant, had an excellent dinner. It was perfect. And Ray, the drink I had last night, I had drinks, but one of the drinks, Ray, I was a little worried about. I asked the server. I said, I see the word daiquiri, and I think of like crappy frozen drinks from the Strip,
right?
Right. So I saw something called the Hemingway daiquiri, which
the
when you
original.
put Hemingway in front of any word, it looks classier, right? It just is.
The Hemingway, he created the daiquiri in Cuba. This is actually,
This thing, I've never had one, I don't believe. A Hemingway daiquiri, white rum, maraschino liqueur, grapefruit juice, lime juice. Sometimes they throw in some other things. But it was quite delicious, Ray. It was, it was a cold, rainy night. Probably not the drink for the night, but I'd had Manhattans earlier. So I already got, I got my drink for the night that fit the night earlier. But this was a great way to end the night with the Hemingway daiquiri. So just want to give a shout out. After many years of drinking, Ray, I'd never had one. So I took a shot. It was much better than a regular crappy daiquiri. Mm-hmm. I had fun with it. It was tasty.
Yeah, and there's still the bar where it supposedly happened. I think they have a seat with like a little statue to him in Cuba where he used to go. And it was created with he and the bartender. But yeah, it's different. It's not the daiquiri you get, like you're saying, when you go to your favorite tropical resort. Yeah. It's not what we're talking about here.
Yeah, this was tasty. Well done. I don't think I could do it, but it was well done by the bartender. Okay, that'll do it for segment 1. Yeah, I know it's almost 2:00, but that's segment 1. When we return on Lunch Money, injuries, news and notes, lunch hunch, World Series Game 3, Monday Night Football, dessert to go. Lot to do in our final hour. Halloween costumes even. Ray's going to have a change in the next 3 minutes. I think Ray has 3 minutes to get a new outfit on. We'll let him race away. Right now, we send it to Duke, who's in the den, who's recapping the weekend. Duke, take it away.
Good afternoon, bettors. It's your boy Duke, back and better than ever. Presented to you, as always, by FantasyGuru.com. Welcome back to Duke's Den. Happy Monday to you. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the NFL recap from Ray and Kyle today. This hour, we're going to talk about college football. I'm going to bring you a little bit of college football action because I know we do have Monday Night Football tonight. In my next segment, I'll do, of course, the side and total for tonight's Monday Night Football game. But let's recap the weekend that was college football. Number 1, Florida plus 22.5. Winner, baby. We're back on that winning train. We actually hit the over as well. UGA wins 42-20. Easily getting over that 56.5 total. We'll talk more about this team here in just a little bit. We also hit our money line parlay. We hit Utah, Ohio State, and Tennessee money line. Going from Thursday to late Saturday. That was a fun one to follow there. I mentioned my UGA buddy, by the way, hitting like 90% on these UGA games. Another winner from him. Florida plus 22.5. Needed that hook. He's terrified. Terrified of Tennessee. That game's at 3:30 on Saturday. Cannot wait for that. We also had Ohio State minus 15.5. Penn State scores with 1 minute left to backdoor us there. We would have been pretty fortunate to win that, to be fair. Ohio State gets a pick 6 to cover, and then Penn State scores to bring us right back to. We also lost under 13.5 for Penn State in that first half. Sean Clifford throws 2 picks on the first 2 series. I'm thinking, like, let's go. I nailed this. Sean Clifford, same old Sean Clifford. Then he scores back-to-back touchdowns with Ohio State going 3 and out in the middle. We lose that under 13.5. But just a wild game all the way around. Ryan Day, crazy play calling there. But here's how I see the college football landscape as it is today. I'm trying to figure out these playoff spots. Number one, Clemson has Notre Dame, Louisville, Miami, Florida, and South Carolina left before probably taking on North Carolina in the SEC championship. So as far as I'm concerned, Clemson is in. They should win every single one of those games. Miami's terrible, by the way. Ohio State has Northwestern, Indiana, Maryland, and then Michigan at home. The winner of that game, the Ohio State-Michigan game, will be probably a 28-point favorite over whatever crap teams comes out of the Big Ten West. So they're in. The winner of that game is in, Ohio State or Michigan. UGA and Tennessee, they do play this weekend, as I mentioned. The winner will be in the driver's seat in the college football playoff, even if they lose the SEC championship. Allow me to explain. UGA, defending national champs, they'd have wins over Oregon and Tennessee, so a loss doesn't really hurt them. They still have a great resume. How about Tennessee? They'd have wins over Alabama, LSU, and Georgia if they win this weekend. So no matter who they play, they'll be 1-1 on the season, whether it's LSU or Alabama. Now, if they play Ole Miss, they shouldn't lose, but that's the other situation. So the winner of that SEC championship gets in. If it's Tennessee, then who's the fourth team? We have Clemson, we have Ohio State, Michigan, and we have Tennessee or Georgia. Assuming that Tennessee or UGA don't lose the SEC championship game, I'm going with TCU.
Shotgun snap, Stafford, ready to deal. Survey, now wings one to the end zone. Cooper Kupp, touchdown LA! On the S in Rams, Stafford finds his favorite target for the go-ahead score. It's 13-7 LA.
The house is a museum. When people
Cooper
come
Kupp
to see
with a touchdown.
really on the
Rams radio with the call. Hopefully we get to get more Cooper Kupp touchdowns. We'll have to see how the week goes. Well, let's push that to the side. Let's say hello to Steve Rogers, who is hanging out with us here on Lunch Money. A epic costume change, Ray. You went from suit and tie to Captain America in just 3 minutes' time.
I did, and I feel bad. I forgot to grab my shield, which I'm never far away from me. My adamantium shield, but today, Kyle, I didn't have time. I was a little bit, going through things. Let's face facts. I'm pretty superhuman anyway. So if someone comes in, I'll just fight them off with my muscles.
Look at this thing. Do you have pants? Does it come with pants?
It's a suit.
It's a suit. Ray has a full blown. Oh my gosh, he even got the red boots.
Look at my abs. My
Yeah.
abs. Good.
Those abs don't do your real abs justice, Ray.
Probably, actually not. You're right.
Yeah. Wow, I like this.
Thank you.
I don't know if Captain America has ever grown a beard, but I kind of dig Captain America with a beard.
Well, the one negative is, as we learned in Captain America: The First Avenger, the original movie, I can't get drunk when I'm in this outfit because Captain America's metabolism works so quickly, alcohol doesn't actually affect him. I don't really know what that means about beards, but I agree with you. Even when I was I was frozen in ice, we didn't have a beard. So I may be taking the character a little far away with this choice here.
I am tempted to maybe try to sneak in like 4 commercial breaks this hour just to see how many costume changes Ray's got in them on Halloween. I like it. Well done. Now we are not only having Ray celebrate Halloween here on the program, but we are also taking a look at some of our older costumes. Earlier today, we saw Ray as Batman. I'm sensing a trend here. Batman at age 3. Heather Klein, our producer, Josh Winchester, also our producer. They've been collecting some photos that we've sent to them. Let's throw up. Do we have another one of Ray from his younger years? I'm guessing it's probably another superhero. Oh no, this is Kyle. Oh no, is it Kyle? I saw a quick image of Kyle.
I did too.
Yeah, there he's back.
That's Kyle.
Okay, that's me, my wife, and my son. This is 2 years ago. I guess, Ray, we're carnies. Would that be correct? My son appears to be the little clown.
Right. You have a little monkey box?
No. That's popcorn. I'm selling popcorn.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm that guy who walks around selling popcorn. I think my wife, and this would be true to form, she's the one with the bullwhip that keeps the lions in order, keeps them from attacking anything. So there we are. That's 2 years ago. dressing up for the circus. And like I said, Ray, I don't do, this is it. I mean, that was the first outfit, and that isn't even an outfit. That's like a cheap way through. But that's the first time I've gotten dressed up in at least 20 years right there.
Very proud of you.
Yeah.
By the way, the Infinity Wars and everything, I was reminded, Steve Rogers did have a beard. It wasn't gray.
Okay.
Back, when he's fighting in Wakanda and all that. But you do look festive there, Kyle. I don't know. I mean, I think he could have gone a little
Kind
bit
of a cheap
further.
way out, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit, but
I mean, I'm wearing jeans and a white button up with tennis shoes. That's like my general get up most days.
You didn't have some Doc Martens you could wear or something?
No, I don't have Doc Martens. Right?
Okay.
Come on, this isn't 1994. But I have a hat. That kind of shows that's dress up, right?
True. That works. Yeah.
The little guy did better on that one, no doubt. But when you're 1.5 years old, we get to boss you around. You got to wear what we say. So he was digging that. Now let's go to the next one of Ray. We do have another one here of Ray. So let's see what Ray was dressed up as. I'm guessing, again, some sort of superhero. So let's post that up, Heather, Josh, if we can see that. Oh, my God. Which one's Ray here?
I'm the older one. That's me and my younger brother.
Who are you?
So my younger brother is dressed as Batman. Ray Flowers is dressed as Lee Majors, who played Kyle,
the $6 Million Man.
You mentioned this on a show about 2 weeks ago. There I am at 5 years old with my Steve Austin $6 Million Man costume on.
Wow.
With the costume, with the plastic mask, with the little, this is the whole type of costume you described, including the $6 Million Man.
He couldn't even breathe through this thing, is what you're
not at all.
Yeah, couldn't breathe. Sweating like a dog underneath that
Pretty
thing.
much, yeah.
I like that. Well done. Yeah, that looks like a giant head. That's a big looking head there up above Jeff.
Like an adult size head for a little boy, kind of, a little bit.
Absolutely. Okay, good stuff. We got a few more of those to show before we get out of here on a Monday. Want to get you up to date on some NFL injuries. We heard the Cooper Kupp highlight. Ray, it's always great when a quiet day is still a good day. What do you have? 6 catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown?
7.
Give me more of those quiet days.
Right.
But it got a bit noisy at the end, Ray. We got an ankle injury for Cooper Kupp, and I know he's saying the right things, but Cooper Kupp may be dealing with something here. I know Sean McVay was a little upset with himself that Kupp was even out there.
Yeah, Ted Schuster beat him to that punch. When the injury occurred, Ted and IM was like, what the hell are the Rams doing? And McVay mentioned after the game, maybe we shouldn't have been doing that. But the hope is that it's nothing significant. He did get rolled up on, and we know how these things go. He dealt with a little something earlier. I think it was his knee, or was it his calf? He was dealing with something a few weeks ago, played through that. But this is something we'll have to keep an eye on because it is indeed an injury that occurred late, and there is some concern.
It's pretty wild, Ray, when you think about and I know he doesn't get hit. Like a lot of times Cooper Kupp makes a catch, he runs out of bounds, or Cooper Kupp makes a catch and kind of avoids the hit and slides. But it's amazing to think Cooper Kupp has been so insanely involved in this offense the last 2 years. And Ray, he's playing every week. Mm-hmm. Like it's crazy. Last year, to make 145 catches, to not miss a game. Really didn't miss a snap. I don't remember Cooper Kupp having anything last year. This year, 64 catches now in 7 games. He finally comes up lame. Like it's insane, right? Over 200 catches, 24 games of football. And I kind of feel like this is the first time Cooper Kupp's even popped up on the injury report.
Yeah, I mean, you look at I'm trying to pull up his snap counts as we're sitting here. Snap counts, he's played 100%, 98%, 100%, 100%, 98%, 97%, 95% of the snaps. His low game this year was yesterday at 95% of the snaps. So, yeah, he's not just heavily involved in the offense for the Rams. He's always on the football field.
So we'll monitor the status throughout the week on Cooper Kupp. Ray, let's move to Indianapolis. We referenced this earlier. I said, my goodness, Jonathan Taylor doesn't look right. Numbers just aren't there. I guess we'll wait and see with Jonathan Taylor for this week too, huh?
Yeah, we're getting confirmation of what we knew because, again, yesterday in the game, Taylor was out of the game. They were retaping his ankle on the sidelines. We all saw it. He didn't seem to have the burst on the field as well. We're getting a report this morning that, he twisted his ankle yesterday. I don't know if it's an aggravation, but let's call it an aggravation of a pre-existing injury with him. And then the concern gets ratcheted up yet again because the Colts see what we see too, right? They realize that it's not Jonathan Taylor that we're used to seeing, so we'll have to follow this storyline through the week.
And Ray will have a race again to the waiver wire for Deion Jackson. I feel like everybody dumped it, and I can't blame people when you're in bye weeks and you got a guy who's really without a role if Taylor's out there. And look at yesterday, Jackson barely touched the football. So he was dropped, Ray, within the last week, maybe 10 days, and now there'll probably be another race to the waiver wire to get Deion Jackson.
This costume is very comfortable, by the way. It's just the way it sits, just very comfortable. But you're right about Deion Jackson, yeah, because, Nyheim Hines is a nice piece, but we've talked about this forever. Even if Hines was the handcuff to Taylor, never likely that he'd be carrying the ball 15 times a week. So it would be a shared backfield. It would be different this time, though, because Hines – if he's active, what is the passing component of Deion Jackson? But he certainly would be involved in the early downs if indeed Taylor is unable to go.
If you are an owner of Irv Smith as your tight end, it's time to go hunting for Greg Dulcich. Irv Smith, Ray, high ankle sprain. So usually that means multiple weeks. Mm-hmm. Lately, though, it hasn't necessarily been multiple weeks, but I think it's safe to say people will be dropping Irv Smith everywhere this week and trying to find another tight end.
Yeah, I had to take the plunge on actually Irv Smith in one league this week. I lost David Njoku, and we'll be back at it again this week because if it is indeed a high ankle sprain, they're running further tests on Irv Smith. He is going to miss time. And even if it's not a bad case, what's his odds of playing the next game? Pretty low. So backfield waiver wire at the tight end position, as many people have done all season long.
Of course, Darren Waller didn't play yesterday. We'll have to follow his status throughout the week. Ray told you about Mark Ingram with the sprained MCL, so that's going to be 4 to 6 weeks for him. Got an issue with Devontae Parker, a knee injury there, so we'll follow. But for the most part, Ray, that's kind of all the news on the offensive side, at least the skill positions that we've got. Yesterday was a high-scoring day. It was a good fantasy day, and was even better with the lack of injuries we had in Week 8.
Yeah, it's one thing to lose and to have it, be because your guys underperformed or the opponent, had Alvin Kamara, they had, AJ Brown. It's another thing to lose because your guys get hurt in the first quarter. Like that's a running theme, and it's so frustrating. You just go, oh hell, like your day's over right at the start. As you're pointing out, we didn't have much of that yesterday, so it was more of a straight up fight for most people in their fantasy leagues.
Steve Wilkes, head coach, interim coach of the Carolina Panthers, has already come out and said PJ Walker is his man for week number 9.
Right or
die. Get on board that Walker train.
Ride or die.
Yeah. Keep him and Foreman. Just let him go. Let him go. Trading deadline tomorrow. We might hear a few rumblings in the next 24 hours. I think literally at this time tomorrow, the deadline will have come and gone. I saw Bradley Chubb defensively. I mean, that may be a trade if Denver moves on from him. Obviously, the Kareem Hunt situation. Maybe there's a surprise somewhere else, Ray, but I'm not expecting any fireworks tomorrow. You think we'll get anything big that will change the landscape?
I'm not either, but the offseason was incredibly insane. It's probably as busy as it's ever been. We just saw Christian McCaffrey traded, one of the bigger stars in the league. So, I mean, I'm not ruling it out. Most years I would say, yeah, nothing to see here. But this year, maybe something is going to happen tomorrow.
Of course, we can't start looking ahead to next week until we finish up this week. One more game to go. Monday Night Football. We've got Cleveland hosting Cincinnati. When we return, not only will we talk over and preview that game, but Ray Flowers will remove the Captain America getup and go in another direction. What direction? Who knows? Stay with us. More of Lunch Money and more costumes coming your way on the Bettor Sports Network.
Call, chat, and enter contests in real time. It's Sports Talk 3.0 with Bettor Sports Network. Moose and Keith.
I am, because I never asked you this. When Noah was growing up, when did Noah first where you got a sense that this is what my son wanted to do?
I was really busy during his formative years. I didn't meet Noah until he was about 19.
Nice. So, your wife did a good job.
Yeah, you may want to talk to your wife. I would say about 13, he started showing a legitimate interest. He started getting curious about how I prepared, what it required. And then I saw a little bit of a shift, 14, 15, where he was concentrating on the on cameras, the interaction between play-by-play and analyst, and started probably taking mental notes at that point of the performance aspect of, okay, you do all this prep, but you got to go out and deliver it. So yeah, probably that 14, 15 range, I thought to myself, that this could be something he really wants to do.
Front Yard Fantasy, weekday mornings at 7 Eastern on Bettor Sports Network.
You don't need to be like right 100% of the time.
No, there was a tweet about the refs that had me kind of cracking up the other day because somebody was like, we have the technology to like, track the ball down to a centimeter and figure out, what speed these guys are running on the field. Yet somehow we still mark the ball by
That's my favorite.
a 60-year-old dude eyeballing it, and then we run over with literal chains and measure it. It's like, you think we can probably get that figured out.
The least precise way to measure something, and then like immediately following that up with a super precise way of measuring something.
Yeah, it's like we have
what I love.
satellite.
Like if you're a millimeter short of that chain that they bring out there, that they ran out it as best they could in a straight line. But if you first they just go here, and then they grab the chains and they run in the straightest line possible. But then if you are 1 millimeter short with that football, it doesn't count. Sorry. Couldn't have been human error. You're just short.
That's exactly. And they bring out the index card or whatever. Meanwhile, they have satellites in space tracking how fast Brandon Ayuk ran on an end around. But we can't.
and I can see that number live while he's doing it. Like I can see every player's speed on the screen live.
I love that. It's and not to mention that dude's trying to make the spot, and the player always tosses the ball right into his face. Right, like he's coming over to spot it, and it's like every other time the player's just like, "Here you go. Here's another thing to juggle."
Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
Is it me, Ray, or is the only publicity that Microsoft Surface has gotten out of their whole thing on the sideline is people throwing them to the ground in anger? Like, is that just a me thing? Or the only time I hear about this device, Ray, is when somebody is chucking it on the ground, just pissed off at it, which I get it. All of us are in that world. We love to do that. Only in the NFL, Ray, can they get away with it because these are free. There's no cost. It's part of the sponsorship. Here's 5,000 Microsoft tablets to get you through the NFL season, and these players are just slamming them down. It's like they've become Gilbert on the sideline, and they're so frustrated. They're just like the only publicity this company and this product has gotten is negative.
Bettor Sports Network. It's sports talk done better.
Burrow on 3rd and 11 will look to pass. He throws it deep down the sideline, and it is caught. T. Higgins breaks the tackle. He's at the 10, the 5, touchdown! Bengals!
Come with us and you will see. This our town of Halloween. This is Halloween.
Ray the shark. Ray the shark. Ray the shark. Look at this blue shark. Look at Ray Flowers getting it done today. One moment, he's a jack-o'-lantern in a suit. The next moment, he's Captain America. Now you appear, Ray, to have become a blue shark. Bravo.
I am a shark. Yes, I love the Nightmare Before Christmas music there too, by the way. But yes, I am a shark right now. In my with my Tipsy Elves onesie, actually, so I could theoretically sleep in this. Though with my dorsal fin on my back, it would probably be a little weird to sleep with.
Tipsy Elves, that's where you go for a lot of your costumes, right?
Some, yeah, they don't. They have the unique ones, right? I have purchased a couple from there. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Absolutely.
Okay. Before we get to talking Monday Night Football, we have more Halloween photos that we have sent to our producers, Josh and Heather. Let's post another one of those, guys. Let's see what we got here. What is up next in our Halloween past, if you will? Fire this up. What do we got? Keep waiting. I'm waiting. Where's that Halloween photo? Maybe they've all burned in the yeah, it's just going to be Ray. Okay, well, maybe we don't have the oh, there it is. There's something. What the hell is that, Ray? Explain. This is wild and crazy and out of sorts. What's going on this photo?
So this is me and my partner. She is a squirrel. I am a tree. And we actually won they have a costume. We got best couple costume for this. We got a $50 gift certificate to the local taqueria. So she's the squirrel. She's got the two nuts right in her hands, right? The big nuts and everything. And her uniform has a big, you can't see.
Watch what you say here, right?
What?
Said, watch what you say.
Yeah, okay. Good call. PG-13. Big tail that you blow up with. So the tail is actually like the size of her head. But I'm a tree. And then you can see there's a little squirrel there, kind of in my middle range area there. And the sign on my neck says, "You want to see my nuts?" So I was the tree. She was the squirrel. We got a $50 gift ticket to the taqueria. Made a lot of people laugh that night.
Yeah, Ray really got into the gutter with this one.
A little
My
bit.
Goodness.
Yeah.
A lot of innuendo going on in that Halloween photo.
Mm-hmm.
So you won like a free burrito, like one burrito?
Well, $50 gift certificate. So we got a meal. We got a meal, but it was tight with no drinks. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good. $50 there. That's worth it. And this year this is what, 2-3 years ago, probably?
I would say this is probably 4 years ago.
Okay, so you have not tried to defend your title since then?
We tried. We moved, and then in COVID, so we haven't. It's unfortunate. We had another year where we should have won, and they gave the costume to two people that were dressed up as bananas, which I never quite understood. They wore banana suits, but we were at least triumphant one time, Kyle.
Okay, well, that's well done. Now, I think we've got another one of me, my wife, and my son. We'll see if this is up here. We showed you the one earlier of us dressed like carnies. That was 2 years ago. Now, 1 year ago, here's what we had. Now, I don't know if you could pick up on all that, Ray, but my son is an airline pilot.
Right, you can see him down there.
My wife is a stewardess on the plane. And I am the wand guy that brings in the airplane. I even have wands on there. And I got the nice earmuffs.
Yep.
I don't know if you can see it, Ray, but I even have the knee pads.
I see it. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, there you go. So that was ours last year, which that one was a huge hit because my son, like, it's literally a little man pilot outfit.
Yeah.
And he's really into airplanes. So that was a huge hit. I don't know if we're going to be able to top that this year. We got another trio that's going to be popping. It's going to be connected, the three of us, but I don't know if we can beat that one.
Kyle, that's much better than the last one because again, you got the pants, the pads, the gloves, the batons. You went all
this one's
in.
Got a little more effort into
it.
You're
all
right.
in on this one. I like it.
This one, there's a little more going on in this. My wife even has the serving tray. It was awesome. I had my son. You see that purple bag, that you would walk through the airport, you see pilots and stuff walking. But it was great, Ray, because for Halloween, I was able to just kind of fill that thing with airline liquor bottles. So as we would go trick-or-treating, I could just grab in the box and tilt one back.
Nice.
It was a beautiful plan.
Nice.
I didn't know it was going to work that way until I was inspired right before we walked out the door. So, and then he was hauling them around, so nobody was, none the wiser as to what was going on in that bag. So
I like it.
There you go. And I'm not going to spill the beans for tonight, but Ray, I'll bring you a photo tomorrow on the show. And
like it. Looking forward to it. Nice.
Okay. Yeah. Something to look forward to. We're looking forward to Monday Night Football. The week cannot conclude until we take care of the Bengals and the Browns. You heard the highlight, courtesy of Bengals radio when we came back here. T. Higgins with a touchdown. Of course, T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd going to be counted on for a bit more here. It's kind of surprising, Ray, that even with Jamar Chase playing this year, and again, he's out for probably at least 4 weeks with a hip injury. But Ray, as of now, Higgins and Boyd are on pace for a 1,000-yard receiving season. Like, they're both at exactly 455 yards going into this Week 8 game. Really caught me off guard. You think, gosh, you can't support three guys, can you? I don't know if they'll get there because I don't know if Chase is going to get there now, but they could have three guys with over 1,000 yards receiving this year.
Well, Chase could have a couple of 180-yard efforts at the end, so it's possible. It's rare to, and we were talking earlier, right, about the Bills, how it's Stephon Diggs and a lot of kind of, it's not that way with the Bengals. We've got Hayden Hurst doing enough to be a weekly consideration at tight end. We've got Tyler Boyd, we've got Higgins, we've got Chase. Like, they're legitimate weapons here, and it's very stratified, right? We don't got a lot of the Shakirs or the Isaiah McKenzie's around like the Bills do. It's just like this handful of players that get all the work. And Joe Burrow's operating under center at a pretty high level right now, and the receivers are obviously benefiting from it.
Bengals came out, Ray, and said they're not going to put Chase on IR. You got a problem with that? It kind of caught me off guard. I guess having an extra position player isn't as important as I'd like to think, because you're going in shorthanded in effect, aren't you? I guess you just leave them inactive. I guess I don't know how you play this. I guess the agony of it, Ray, is for those of us who own Chase, you've got this IR spot, you can't use it. That's kind of the pain of it. And at least they told us.
Right.
But you start to say, well, gosh, if he's going to miss 4 weeks, just throw him on IR and bring him back after that.
Well, we could just hope that he's back in 3 or 4, right? And then we can hope that they don't have to make a determination like the Saints probably should have with theirs guys, that it's going to take longer than that, right? And they're leaving open that we're hearing that, they're leaving open the possibility because they think there's a chance he's back shorter. And again, I just don't want to hear in 2 weeks, oh crap, here comes the IR, right? So let's hope that doesn't occur. It is frustrating for those people that have IR. Most of my leagues don't. I know a lot of people do. But like you said, everyone's aware of it, but it's going to be a painful waiting out process.
No David Njoku for Cleveland, of course. Cleveland on a 4-game losing streak as they get set tonight, but they've actually won 7 of the last 8 against the Cincinnati Bengals. So they've done quite well here. I talked about it earlier with Mixon. Cincinnati's run game, one of the worst in the NFL, but Cleveland's run game pretty well just as bad. Cleveland is going to have both Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney. Both those guys are going to be ready to go after Joe Burrow. So we'll see how this offensive line holds up, because that is one thing, Ray. I remember the first 2 weeks of the season, I think both Mondays that we were talking about the Bengals, it's like, oh my God, they can't protect Joe Burrow. It was really bad. I think it was like 12 or 13 sacks in the first 2 games. They've totally tightened up that number in the last 4 or 5 games. I think combined, they've only given up like 12 sacks in the last 4 games or so.
Yeah, and this is partly Joe Burrow not holding on to the ball as much, right? He's been guilty of that at times, waiting for plays to develop for his guys to run around. And it's also a coalition of the changes made on the offensive line. There needs to, because this was an area of weakness, a huge weakness in the playoffs last year. We all saw it. They addressed it in the offseason, and it wasn't any good to start the year. But as we've talked about a lot, there's no real secret sauce to the offensive line. Sometimes it's just familiarity with one another. And they seem to have fixed that part of their game. And we're seeing the results, flow, the bounty of results from the skill position players with the offensive line doing a much better job.
Cincinnati is the road favorite here. 3.5 is the spread. They're over under at 45. Favorite prop for Monday Night Football, Ray? Where are you going?
Yeah, I'm going big on this one. I'm kind of taking a page out of your book. Nick Chubb and T. Higgins, plus 450. Each guy to go for 100 yards. 100 rushing for Chubb, 100 receiving for Higgins. Higgins is obviously the alpha at this point, and it's not at all crazy to think he can catch 7 passes for 120 yards. And Nick Chubb is, he runs for 85 yards and you're disappointed, right? That's the main part of their offense. So taking those 2 guys, and they're big numbers, but I'm kind of surprised that the odds are so high. 450, pretty good.
Well, and mine, Ray, is kind of along those same lines. Plus 340 for Joe Mixon to top 100 yards.
Scrimmage or rushing?
And again, he's 0 for 6. I guess this year, which you'd say, okay, guy hasn't done it. Why would he? But again, look at the numbers. They can run on Cleveland. And again, they don't have Jamar Chase. Maybe there's a little less passing, but plus 340. I couldn't pass it. He's my player to watch, by the way. My player to fade might be Joe Burrow. This could be the game, Ray, where I think Clowney, Garrett, these other guys kind of get in his face. This game, I feel, is going to be a lot more difficult than people think on the surface. I think they believe that, Cleveland is kind of going nowhere and they're just stuck in the mud. But, Ray, I think they can come out and maybe punch Cincinnati in the face and maybe cause this game to go late into the 4th quarter. I probably would still lean Cincinnati straight up to win, but I think it's going to be a real battle. And I do expect Burrow to be, he's without Jamar Chase. That's a huge weapon, no matter what you have in T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. So he'll be my fade. Mixon, kind of the guy I'm watching. I expect a big game from him. Who's your guy to watch and who's your fade in this game?
And just to be clear, it was 100 rushing yards from Mixon, right?
100 rushing yards, yeah. Plus 340.
Okay. My guy to watch is Harrison Bryant. Obviously, David Njoku has been right behind, Amari Cooper as the weapon through the air for this team. He's out of action with the ankle issue. Bryant's the one that's going to step up. I think everyone is pretty much in agreement with that. The question is, what does it look like? He's not the same kind of player as Njoku. He's not going to catch a pass and run for 15 yards after the catch. It's not who he is. But can he catch 4 or 5 passes? Can he get in the end zone here? I mean, he scored 3 times each of the past 2 seasons as a support role. He'll have a more significant role tonight. And then my player to fade, this is an interesting one. I heard some people ask this yesterday about, starting players, because we had a lot of Brandon Cooks. Is he going to get traded? Would the Texans sit him? Kareem Hunt is the hot name on the market right now. Would they sit Kareem Hunt? Is that possible? Would they pull back on his workload? It's possible. Even if they don't, I mean, Kareem Hunt hasn't done anything. He's got 9 carries for 16 yards the last 2 games. He has 1 game of 50 rushing yards. It was back in week 2. He's really kind of a touchdown or bust guy. 4 catches in 3 games. So he's my guy to fade for a variety of reasons tonight.
I like that call on Hunt, Ray. I didn't really think about it that way, but you're onto something. The problem is, gosh, if you do that and you make it obvious, it looks like you quit on the whole season kind of thing, You
almost have to make the trade.
I struggle with the idea that the Browns would truly do that, but it makes sense what you're saying. If they have an intention of trading them, it's just like we see in the other sports. You don't want them out there. You don't want them playing, but we're all still working under the assumption, hey, the Browns, they get a couple of wins here. They're back in. I mean, they're 2-5. If they're going to have any kind of run, they've got to win this game.
Right.
And this is a home game. It's Monday Night Football, Halloween. You got your rival coming into town. Like, this is a game that kind of shapes up for you to pull off an upset. But if you're not playing Kareem Hunt, you're thinking about trading him. You pretty well told the whole fan base that we're giving up on this game, kind of giving up on the season as well. Watchability tonight with Monday Night Football. I will note, Ray, I may give this a decent number, but I'm going to be flipping between this game and the baseball game an awful lot. And I might just watch a little bit more of the baseball game than I watch of the Bengals and the Browns tonight.
You going to be looking for the Great Pumpkin tonight too, Kyle?
I hope to be back by 7 o'clock. So there, I've seen the pumpkins. I don't have to watch any of that stuff.
Okay.
I'm going to be back in time for these games. If you're asking me to rank all 3, the Great Pumpkin is number 3 on that list by a fairly significant margin.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cold heart, Kyle. Okay.
3.5. 3.5 is what I've got on this one. How about you?
I've got a 3 on this one, Kyle.
3? Okay. Is it going to get as much viewing as Game 3 of the World Series?
Oh, it'll blow away Game 3 of the World Series.
Really?
Or the public, or are you talking about me?
No, you.
Oh, well, see, that's the thing. I would much prefer to watch the baseball game. But our job is 98% football right now. So, I can watch it in the morning. I'll have to figure it out. I'll watch it, but I got to figure out when the best time to do that.
Do you do pitcher-in-pitcher? Is that even a thing in 2022?
It is a thing, and you can absolutely do it. I know that people say all the time, well, watch it on the other TV, pull your laptop, get your pad. You can totally do that. I tend to watch one at a time.
Yeah.
And again, I'm up.
How about this, Ray? You watch the football, I'll watch the baseball.
Okay, great.
Nah, I will be watching both. Fear not. I'll make sure that both those games are being viewed in the L. Frank household. Speaking of baseball, all this week right here on the Bettor Sports Network, we've got social media giveaways. Now, believe it or not, I kind of even know what that means. Even though I'm not a social media maven, I know what that means. Our Twitter handle is @BettorNetwork. @BettorNetwork. You will go there or can go there. Give us a follow if you haven't already. Even if you are a follower, right there at the top, whenever you go to twitter.com/BettorNetwork, you're going to see a pinned tweet. That means right there at the top, right?
That's what it means.
Thing you see.
Yep, you got it.
That pinned tweet is about a giveaway we got tonight. And it's a good one, Ray. For Game 3 of the World Series, it is an autographed Bryce Harper baseball. How about that one? Bryce Harper baseball that we're going to be giving away. The giveaway's at 9 o'clock Eastern tonight. Rick Kamla, Bettor Sports Live. He's going to be giving it away. Now, here's the way it works. You have to retweet the official pinned giveaway post. So, Ray, explain. That would mean click the post and retweet it, and you're good to go and you're qualified for this contest, correct?
There's a button that is retweet button. I think everyone that uses social media should click on the middle one.
They probably know that by now.
I would think.
Hey, are you verified, Ray?
No, we were joking about that yesterday. I'm not, and I never will be, considering we're gonna have to pay for it now. So
I know.
yeah.
I didn't know. I don't know, and I don't know how true that is. Like Elon Musk has taken over Twitter, and everybody's scared he's going to change everything and fire like half the staff and all that. And one of the things, Ray, one of the rumors is that if you are a verified personality on Twitter, what I saw $8 a month, Ray, is that right?
I saw $20 a month.
$20 a month. Never have you been happier to be unverified, huh?
Yeah, I can't imagine that it would be 20. I would. It's got to be single digits, I would assume. But
yeah, how many people are leaving Twitter if that's going to be the cost?
Oh well, Jeff Manns yesterday said he would.
Yeah.
I've asked Twitter, and I don't know this. I've got to be one of the top 100 people in the world in terms of tweets that hasn't been verified. I mean, I have to be. I've been part of Twitter since 2009.
Well, pause on the discussion.
Yeah.
Ray, look at you. Who would verify you right now?
Well, the funny thing is there's all these ways to verify things, and I qualify in like 8 different areas, and I've turned in 8 different, and they turn me down in 20 minutes every time. So I don't know. I mean, now it used to be, you don't have the website anymore. Now it's at the Ray Flowers. It's my name. So I don't know what their issue is. I'm not verified. I'll never be verified. I ain't paying for it.
Okay, well, you won't follow Ray as a verified user. Verified users are the big names, like anybody in the news media,
Jeff Manns,
music, Hollywood, all that stuff. Ray's close. He's closing in, but if they're going to charge for that, forget about it. But anyway, you can still win this contest, unverified or not. Do they verify regular people?
Yeah, Jeff Manns is verified. Yeah, there's a whole litany of ways.
Not a regular person.
You could be on Twitter for 6 minutes, and with your background and what you do, they should verify you. So, media and all that kind of thing. So, yeah, there's people that are verified that have like 400 followers and have had like 300 tweets that don't even do anything. They're verified, but some of the rest of it.
I thought it was just the whole world that was against you. I didn't know Twitter was against you as well.
Twitter's against me and Sandro Anello, one of our producers over at Sirius. The two of
can't
us.
get verified? Yeah.
Twitter, he sends notes to Twitter like twice a week, 3 times a week. He used to do it daily. I wonder if today I'll get verified all the time. Never worked.
Nope, not getting verified. Again, contest tonight. Bryce Harper, autograph baseball, 9 p.m. Rick Campbell is giving it away right here on the Bettor Sports Network. How do you qualify? Go to our Twitter handle at Bettor Network, and retweet the pinned promotional announcement, if you will. Just retweet it, and boom, you're qualified. You can do that anytime up until 9 o'clock tonight. So do it now while you're thinking about it. We will take our final breather here, back to talk Game 3, a little more football, dessert out the door, another costume change for Ray Flowers. Will he? Will he not? We'll find out after Duke's Den right here on the Bettor Sports Network.
Bettors, it's your boy Duke, back and better than ever. Presented to you, as always, by FantasyGuru.com. Welcome back to Duke's Den, where I try to make you money one bet at a time. I previewed the college football playoff last hour. I think Clemson's in. I think the winner of Ohio State, Michigan is in. I think the winner of Tennessee, Georgia is in no matter what, even if they lose the SEC championship game. And now if the winner of that game goes on to win the SEC championship game, I don't think anyone from the other side of the SEC has a strong enough resume to make that case. You could say Ohio State or Michigan loser because they won't get the chance to play in the Big Ten playoff game and, pick up a big win there or even lose. How about TCU? I like TCU over that last spot. I'm rooting for chaos, by the way. Chaos. But tons of big games coming up in college football. We went 3-2 last weekend in college football bets for a little profit. We seem to be going 1-1 on these Monday night football and Thursday night football bets. You can go broke just losing the juice, so let's not do that. Let's go 2-0 today. I got the side and total coming up here in just a second. But first of all, another beautiful Sunday over for FantasyGuru.com. Screenshot Sunday was in full effect. And if you don't know what that is, our main account and Jeff Manns on Twitter retweet a lot of our members who will send in their winnings with a screenshot there. Core 4 was clicking yesterday. And here's the thing. We have big players. We have small players. Some people put in $1, $2, $5. Some put in thousands of dollars. Whether you're big or small, we have something for you. Use code BETTOR, BETTOR, to join the fun. We'll give you 20% off using that code, like half price, I want to say, the NFL packages, and you get college football for free. So go check it out. Speaking of bets, let's place 2 Shall we? Looking to go 2-0. Bengals take on the Browns here at First Energy Stadium in Cleveland, Ohio. Game open, Bengals -2.5. Got bounced up to 3.5. I figure with the Jamar Chase news, perhaps we get some threes hung out there. I do see WinBet has 3, Caesars has 3. I know a lot of you guys don't have accounts there. DraftKings, FanDuel, and the like generally has 3.5. So that's the number we'll use is 3.5. 45 total, down from 47. Kickoff low 60s, winds under 10 miles an hour. So I don't think weather is going to be a factor at all. Of course, one of the all-time Halloween people watching nights on NFL football, so enjoy those costumes. But Jamar Chase is this offense. They're averaging 5.75 yards per play with him. He's Joe Burrow's safety blanket. So you got to go Browns, right? Browns are the walking wounded. Denzel Ward's out. The star corner, Greg Newsome, another corner's out. Owusu Kamaroa is out. The linebacker, questionable, I think. Clowney was limited in practice, and Njoku's out. Can you tell we're getting close to November? Late in the NFL season, we do have all these injuries pop up. The defense is scrappy for the Browns, but totally depleted. I'm trusting Burrow in this offense. I'm going to lay the number, lay 3.5 with the Bengals, and I'm going over the total as well. Here's Ray and Kyle for more lunch money. Adios. Good afternoon, bettors. It's your boy, Duke.
And Bregman clubs it deep to left center field. Going back, Schwarber still going back at the wall. See you later! 2-run home run for Alex Bregman. Ground ball right side to his right, Altuve. He secures it with both hands, throws to first, and that is the ball game. The Houston Astros even up the World Series at a game apiece.
The Monster Mash. It was a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash.
He did the mash.
He did the mash.
Yes. I would posit this, Ray, as the #1 Halloween tune of all time. Monster Mash. That would be in the pole position, I think.
Yeah, most people think it's Boris Karloff, but it's not. It's always played at the holiday season. It's one of those, like you said, the tracks that, thankfully I'd rather hear than Ghostbusters by Ray Parker Jr. By the way, did you ever get the photo from the event?
I didn't. My wife, who was at Disney World and texted me, "Hey, have you ever heard of Ray Parker Jr.?" I informed her who he was, Ray, and what he sang, and that kind of ended the possibility of going to see Ray Parker Jr. So alas, she did not make it to the RPJ at Disneyland a couple weeks.
That's unfortunate. Too bad for her.
What is this you're wearing, Ray? What are you trying to pull off here?
Kyle, I'm a gnome.
You're a gnome.
Here's my belt, my little gnome outfit, and my garden flower.
Ray, I hope to God you didn't pay more than like $20 for this thing.
My eyebrows. I used to have. There's a beard for this, but because I have such a big bushy beard, I didn't actually put the beard on. But there's a white beard, my ears, my little eyebrows, my little pointy. What do you mean? I'm a garden gnome, Kyle. That's my thing. You know that.
Yeah, I do know that, Ray. Yeah, but this is kind of looks cheap. Like that Captain America thing looked cool. This thing looks beaten down, like he got it out of a dumpster.
Well, see, it's brand new. But see, here's the thing: lighting matters a lot, right? And again, when I wear the Captain America, let's be honest, I'm not the big muscular guy, but I'm 6'4", got pretty broad shoulders. When I put the Captain America suit on, I walk in somewhere, I look like Captain America. Like I fill up, and when I got the big shield and everything, like I fill the space up.
Wow.
I actually created on my shield shoulder straps. I took a backpack, I cut a old backpack I had and created so I could actually wear it on my back. Like when he sticks it on there, so anyway, this is more of just, hey man, I'm down to party. Give me a beer, give me a shot, let's go.
Yeah, you're down to party, Ray, but I don't think anybody is saying yes to the invitation. Not in this outfit.
Well, I mean, come on, Kyle, look at my ears. I hear you. I'm listening.
Yeah, Ray, it just looks weird. It just looks weird. Not a fan of this one. I know Heather and Josh, they're digging it. And people in the comment room, they're digging it. I liked your others more today. I gotta say,
that's okay.
Hey, feel like we're in it with the FUD.
A year from now, when we celebrate our second Halloween on BSN, I will have 3 or 4 other costumes, and we can keep the good times rolling.
Absolutely. Although next year, I think it'll be on a Tuesday, Ray, so you'll have a lot more costume changes.
Man, I'm going to have like 5 breaks. Okay.
Yeah. Doing this on a Monday, remember, we went like 2 hours before our first break.
Right. Good point.
Now you planned it correctly by being in an outfit for that first segment that was rather normal.
That's what I thought about.
If you'd had to sit in this thing for 2 hours, I would have stopped the segment after 30 minutes.
My head's getting a little hot in this thing, actually. This is more, I guess, holding in the heat more than the shark was. So luckily it's toward the end.
Do we have another photo of Ray from yesteryear? We've been showing photos off of myself and of Ray. Ray as a 3-year-old dressed up as Batman. As a 5-year-old, he was the $6 Million Man. Here's another one. Looks like another young Ray Flowers. What are we looking at here, Ray?
This is a 4-year-old Ray Flowers. And this is even more of what you were talking about too earlier. You can tell there's a little bit of shine. This is kind of the plasticky PVC, whatever the costume was. The big mask with the tiny little slit for your mouth and the tiny little holes for your nose that you couldn't breathe in. That's Batman. So I was Batman multiple times. Now, I know you look at it and you think, oh, that's got to be a knockoff. It's actually really Batman on the chest. I don't know why it's Batman and not the logo.
Yeah.
And I don't know why there's actually a bat on the, but it's Batman. Back then, and this is, mid 70s, I don't really think they even had knockoff costume. Like that wasn't a thing back then. So it's Batman, purple and black with the actual Cape Crusader on my chest.
Yeah, all I see, Ray, is something that's hugely flammable. That's what I see there. That thing would go up in half a second if you were near a candle.
And the worst thing is with that, though, it would probably melt to my body and burn me to death, too.
Yeah, I don't think they were really concerned about safety back in the day. It's like that old Aykroyd bit on Saturday Night Live, Ray, where he's selling the big bag of glass. Have you ever seen that? Where he's a salesman? You got to watch that.
Okay.
And he's like, it's something every kid wants, a big bag of broken glass. Selling it to children. That's kind of what this outfit looks like. Rather dangerous is what I would go with. Okay, good stuff there. So we have age 3, 4, and 5. Ray, do you have photos of every age of your childhood for Halloween?
I don't have copies on my computer of them, but yeah, my mom and dad were very forward thinking with that stuff. So there's if I go to my mom's house still, there's 1982 a book, there's 1983 a book, there's 1984. Yeah. My dad actually had a reel-to-reel projector, so there's actual reel-to-reel video of me when I was 3. And then we got video cameras and all that. So I have a pretty good pictorial history of my childhood growing up, Kyle. Yeah, I'm very fortunate.
Think, now all of us have cameras. Like every single one of us has a camera that we're carrying with us all day long, like all of us. Yet Ray, somehow, some way, none of us have pictures. Isn't that wild? Like here you are talking about night, and my parents are the same way, picture albums, all this stuff, and they're great to look at. We get to relive memories. Think about this, like 20 years from now, Ray, are you really going to scroll through 20 years of photos in the cloud?
Well, that's a thing. I got 256 on my phone, and I'm like at 200 now, and it's mostly pictures, and there's 14,000 photos on my phone. It's like, it would take me an entire day, and I'd only have to be paying attention. So yeah, you're right.
I know. Nobody's getting these photos developed. Let's talk World Series. Tonight, just after 8 o'clock Eastern, Game 3 up in Philadelphia. It's going to be Lance McCullers taking on Noah Syndergaard. Series is knotted up at 1 apiece. We are told, Ray, this is not a bullpen game for Philadelphia. I.e., if Syndergaard's pitching well, he can go like 5 or 6 innings. That ain't going to happen, though, is it?
I don't think so. Yeah. It's a bullpen game.
It's a bullpen game. McCullers, you got faith in him for this third game?
He's interesting because there are times where McCullers goes out and he struggles with location, right? He can't, get his curveball over, and then it becomes a little predictable with the fastball. He pitched well down the stretch. He's been really effective this season. There's always in the back of my mind the lack of control, which does get him at times, and the injury history at times. But I think he's pitching well enough that you can feel comfortable. Like I would expect him to throw more innings tonight than I would for Syndergaard if we're doing that comparison.
He is. I was looking at some numbers today, Ray. He only faced left-handers. I think it was 113 plate appearances, but this year he gave up 1 home run to a left-handed hitter. I bring that up because of Schwarber and Harper, and they batted like 170. So he has been difficult on lefties. I think the OPS was around 550 or so. Now, again, 113 plate appearances, so we'll see how it works out. But he's probably the guy in the better spot here. In terms of, things to follow, we saw it in the first 2 games, and I'll say that first game was awesome. I enjoyed the hell out of that. I am glad. I think I said it last week on the show. I'm glad it was on a Friday and there wasn't a whole lot going on, and you could kind of just say, this is going to be the focus of my night is watching baseball, and I love that. Good comeback win for the Phillies. Game 2 was fairly ordinary, but in Game 2, Ray, what stood out is Jose Altuve getting going. He had 3 hits. And I think that's almost like more hits than he'd had the entire postseason before that.
Right.
So if he's going and can get dangerous, and now and Alvarez had a big hit in that game, that's going to make it really tough, I think, for the Phillies. They can score, but their pitching, it just hasn't really been there. Wheeler was good, Nola was not. They've got Syndergaard, Ranger Suarez. These 2 games are kind of the difficult ones for the Phillies, where you're trying to steal probably one of these 2 games.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, they've got a couple of good pitchers to the Phillies, but everyone on the Astros seemingly is a good pitcher, right?
Yeah.
They're all in a groove. The bullpen's doing historic things too. It's not just the starters. So it's an uphill battle. And we all know that. That's why the odds are what they are. It's why the expectations are what they are. But any given day, it's just like football. There, guy goes out there and doesn't have a pitch. Guy goes out there, tweaks something early. They're just not comfortable. We got to remember, you make 30 starts. 10 of them are great. 10 of them are okay, and 10 of them you don't really got it. You never quite know who's going to show up that day.
Home field advantage expected to really be a thing over the next 3 nights. Next 3 games are in Philadelphia. In the history of this ballpark, the Phillies are 21-9, which is about the best winning percentage, I think, of any ballpark that's been around for like more than 10 postseason games. So good numbers there. Also this year, the Phillies are 5-0 in the playoffs at home, and they have hit 12 home runs in those 5 games. So they have done very well with the home cooking. We heard that highlight of Bregman's home run from Astros radio. That was in Game 2. I don't know if you caught this, Ray, but Alex Bregman already has the most World Series home runs of any third baseman in the history of baseball.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, he's got 6, which is a big number. I think the previous record was 4. But I couldn't believe that when I saw that mark. And we can say, more playoffs. This is just World Series. That's how often the Astros are in it. Another couple of numbers that I liked here, Ray. Yuri Gurriel still has not struck out this postseason. 39 plate appearances, no strikeouts. The record is 50 by Joey Cora. So that's in a single postseason, right. 51 plate appearances without a whiff. Let's see. Pena, the rookie Jeremy Pena, 8 extra base hits in 9 postseason games, so he's looked good. And then Justin Verlander, Ray, didn't look good in Game 1. He blew a 5-0 lead. Phillies came back, eventually won it. 8 starts in the World Series for Justin Verlander. He is 0-6 with an ERA over 6. Do we call him a choke artist now? Is he not made for the grind of World Series play? That's crazy how really uninspiring he's been in the Fall Classic.
It's really amazing sometimes how storylines gain a life of their own and they become the story. Why does no one talk about that with Justin Verlander? Clayton Kershaw is a bum in the playoffs. That's what everyone thinks, right? Justin Verlander? Is Clayton Kershaw 0-6 in the World Series? It's fascinating. You and I are, I think, of the same opinion here. You have a guy who's thrown 4,000 innings. Let's pull out 97 innings in the playoff. Okay, that's not the story. But it is fascinating that he has struggled so in such a pronounced manner, not just because of who he is, but relative to just pitching in the World Series as well.
Yeah, and he'll be out there for Game 5. That would be the expectation. So he'll get another start there. We'll see if he can kind of flip the script on that one. Again, 8:03 tonight for the first pitch. Should be good. McCullers taking on Syndergaard. If you have the time, make sure to tune in. Been a fun World Series through the first couple of games. Our lunch hunch for both Ray and I dealing with this game. So, Ray, what's your long shot bet that you like tonight?
Yeah, maybe we'll get a hung curveball from McCullers. Maybe we'll get a mistake from McCullers. It's a plus 320 for Kyle Schwarber to go deep tonight. 36 home runs and 380 at bats against right-handed pitching. So he had a ton of success there. He's got a fly ball rate of 55% in the playoffs. He's getting it up in the air. We'll see how it goes.
I'll do a combo bet here. Houston to win straight up and over 7.5 runs. I'm not convinced either of these starting pitchers will go beyond the 4th inning. I think both are out. And that may be because they're effective and they just want to use the bullpen or not. But I kind of think runs will be there. So I'm going to take over the 7.5 runs. So you get a Houston win over 7.5 runs plus 195, which I feel really good about. So that's a good number there. Ray's got the Schwarber home run at plus 320. Going to talk some Halloween candy for dessert out the door. But before that, we do have a couple of injury updates, one involving Gus Edwards, another one involving Rashad Bateman, and then another one with Mark Andrews. So it's all Ravens here, Ray. Take it away. What's shaking with them?
Yeah, Rashad Bateman, not good. The foot issue is something that's going to knock him out for at least a couple of weeks. The team was hoping that it was just a tweak after that latest setback, but that is not the case. Rashad Bateman will be out multiple weeks, if not longer, for the Ravens. A little bit better news with Gus Edwards. The hamstring thing is minor. He's not 100% certain to play this week, but he has a legitimate chance to play this week. That's what we're hearing. And we're hearing very similar things with Mark Andrews, whether we're talking about the shoulder or the ankle. The current belief among the Ravens is neither injury is significant, that he also has a chance to play the next game for the Ravens.
Okay. Andrews, Ray, and again, it sounds positive. He's not going to be out. To me, that makes Isaiah Likely somebody I'm not interested in. Even after that big game against Tampa, I kind of feel, and people are going to say, well, what the hell else am I getting at tight end? That'll depend on everything that you're looking at. But to me, Ray, Likely only has a role and only is fantasy relevant if Andrews is out. And if you got to make a bid tonight, tomorrow, whenever it is, I'd probably bypass Isaiah Likely even after the effort in week 8.
Well, is it Demarcus Robinson season at the wide receiver 2? I mean, it's Devin Duvernay and Demarcus Robinson. Can Likely still find a role in an offense that threw the ball 38 times a week, maybe? In this offense that throws it 27 times a week, probably not. Still a chance Andrew doesn't play. I mean, it's still a possibility. So it's not wrong to add Likely, but I would only be making that move if I was willing to take 2 tight ends, because as you're suggesting today, I wouldn't be anticipating starting Likely.
Okay, so again, the news is not so good on Bateman, a little bit better for Edwards and Andrews. We will see leading up throughout the week where those guys stand. But I did want to get that out before we close things down. We close it down, Ray, with our dessert out the door. This one's up your alley because look at you. But we're talking about Consumer Reports, and they're just released, well, I guess about a week ago, best and worst candies. And Ray, they took a look at a lot of them. I mean, they probably got a list of 50, 60 candies here. Milk Duds and Mr. Goodbar and Dum Dums and Butterfinger and Runts. Man, I love Runts. I haven't had a Runt in forever. I like to have that. Tootsie Rolls, Twix, Twizzlers, all that stuff. Here are the best Halloween candies.
Okay.
According to Consumer Reports, you can trust these guys on this. Number 1 with a bullet is Reese's Peanut Butter Cups.
Oh, so good.
I can't dispute that. I can't dispute it.
Peanut butter and chocolate, so good.
Yeah, can't dispute it. Number 2 is Snickers. I get that. I'm down for that.
Okay.
Number 3 is a tie, Twix and Almond Joy. Twix, totally fine. The Almond Joy, Ray, forget about it. Get it out of here. I got no time for Almond Joy.
I like an Almond Joy, but that's like one a year. I wouldn't consider it a top 5 bar.
100 grand is tied with Kit Kat.
I don't remember the last time I had a 100 grand. Do you?
Those are like when I see them, Ray, they're in the trash.
Yeah, I don't
even, what's in 100 grand?
I don't even know.
Yeah. The Kit Kat smokes that. And then Butterfinger is behind 100 grand.
Oh, Butterfinger's way better. Yeah, Butterfingers are good.
Yeah, so I got that list is good. If you have Reese's, Snickers, Twix, Kit Kat, Butterfinger, that's epic. That's good. You throw in Almond Joy and 100 grand, I'm out. Now, here are the worst candies. So for everybody who's got to buy their candy and get out there, tonight, feed the kids, don't buy these. Candy corn, Ray, listed as the worst candy according to Consumer Reports.
I'm not a fan of candy corn.
My son likes candy corn. We introduced him to his first candy corn about 3 weeks ago, Ray, and he acts like it's heaven.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not a fan either, but he loves it. Good and Plenty.
Awful. I hate licorice.
Yeah. Yeah, bad and none, I'd say. Now, Almond Joy also lands on the worst list.
Coconut's an acquired taste,
Airheads is one of the worst. And then, what is this? Hot Tamales? Yeah, Hot Tamales, which isn't Halloween at all. Want to thank Heather. Want to thank Josh. Want to thank Ray. See you tomorrow at noon Eastern.